Hey guys, oh my god, what is with this? Bum 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 bum. Okay, is that better? Christ almighty, why was it peaking? Okay, hello. Hello guys. I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at the... I'm looking at a couple of other like widgets that I can put on here. I'm gonna be a good streamer. Pomtacular, thank you so much for the 10 months. The subscription. Squidboy Bass? Squidboy Bass? Hello. Hello, UK. Pretty in Black, hello. Angsty Boodle, hello. Confused Pickle, hello. It's been a minute since I've streamed on YouTube, and especially a long time since I've streamed on TikTok. Give me a second. I'm trying to see if there's, like, any fun shit to put on here. I don't know how to use... I'm not good at streaming, dude. I can... Oh my god, skip. I could stream somewhat, but I don't stream perfectly. You know, copy. I think I could do this. I think this looks a lot better. Let's go to mainstream. Hello, male singer from that. Yeah, that's me. Hello. That's me. I was the voice of Freddy in that song. In that one FNAF 2 song. That's me. Freddy Fazbear. Hor, 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 hor. Hor, 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 hor. Hor, 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 hor. Hor, 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 hor. I can do this. I think if I do this, it changes it on the other one. That's fine. I like this. I like this chat box better. It looks cooler. Hello! Eric Jones, Jonesy, hello. This chat's way cooler looking. Did you guys see that they announced the, oh, fuck, thinking of now. They announced the new, Persona 6? That's cool as fuck. I got 2 really long stories today, and I needed you guys to keep me on track, because it's been a minute since I posted on YouTube. So, I need to actually work. I've been doing so much of that cryptid research that, like, I've lost track of who I am. I've lost who I am. I need to find who I am once again. And I will. Oops, not like that. Ugh, please. The thing in the back rooms. You guys see the Backrooms movie yet? If you have not seen the Backrooms movie, might I encourage you to go watch the Backrooms movie? Oh God, the chat, the chat. Okay, let's go. What's 800 or 800 by 600? That's better. Now we can increase the width, the length, or the girth. Height. Go 880. That's better. Oh my god, now I can see them. I saw it, it's good. Oh, dude, Bird Brain. I can't express how much I love that movie. There's so many things I've been seeing, like, people who are saying they don't enjoy it online. They were like, well, the entire mom subplot doesn't fit in, and all these other stuff. And I was like, oh, God, I want to talk about it so bad, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I don't want to spoil this for anybody. Okay, so, where are we at? Hi, Taco 109, hello. So, here's where we're at right now. Here's where we're at when it comes down to doing creepypasta stuff. I've got a bunch of creepypastas that have been lined up. I've not had a chance to record them, and that's what we're getting to today. I'm thinking I'm probably going to be able to do 2 today before we get to my usual stream time for Twitch. Yes, Twitch. My Twitch stream time, which I'm also streaming on Twitch. But don't worry about that, because Twitch gets another stream when it's video games. Cool? Cool. Okay, so, creepypasta stuff. It's my first time watching you here, loving it so far. Thank you, Alfie Wolf. Oh, Goodwin, hey, how's it going? I saw your message on I have to see the notification. I don't care if you're doing news story or not now. Dude, I'm going to do your news story. It is on the list. I have a big list of stories, but I have 2 specifically that I need to do right now. One of which, Thing in the Backrooms. The next one was from T.W. Grimm. I had commissioned this story a long, long time ago, and it ended up being way, way longer than I thought that it was going to be. So I need to knock out that story. The story is called Nothing. It is very good. I think, you know what, I'm just going to leave that to you guys. Well, you guys can decide if it's very good or not. I think it's very good. But we got to knock these two out. And they're long. Both of these are long, so that's what we got to do. I have been working too much on my cryptid series, I think. I very much enjoy working on this cryptid series of shorts. That's part of the problem, is that I am enjoying doing that. So because I'm enjoying it, I have been neglecting scary stories. That's not going to be the case forever. I'm going to be working on scary stories. That's the stream today. For those of you guys who are waiting around to see me play video games, you guys watched it on Twitch. That begins at 8 p.m., so we got about 4 hours. I'm very, very much praying that this does not take me 4 hours of solid recording, and to then go over and do another 4 hours of game streaming, because then I'm going to be very burnt out. But we're going to be working on this. I don't know if we're having live updates for you guys. Taco, I love you too. Of course, Backroom Story is perfectly timed with the movie dropping. Yeah, I was supposed to do this a while ago. Alien Isolation 2, I did see. I never finished Alien Isolation 1. Those of you guys that do watch me on Twitch, you'll know that I am not exactly the best stealth player. I am not good at playing with secrecy. I tend to play very loudly, and that's not how you play Alien Isolation. So I have not completed Alien Isolation 1. And by that I mean, I think I'm very, like at the very first encounter with a xenomorph. I did see, however, Alien Fireteam Elite 2 is coming out, and I'm very excited about that, because that's a very loud and proud video game. And I've been one of the very, like, adamant players of Fireteam 1. That was a fantastic game. I'm glad to see it's 4-player now. Arachnids, thank you so much. Put on cue to sleep. I hope you have a good. I hope you have a good night's rest. I will say this. Stupid advertisement. I'm gonna get stupid advertisement out of the way. I'm really pushing this. Those of you guys that like to listen to stories whenever you go to sleep, right? You guys like to listen to stories whenever you go to sleep. If you're like me, actually, you know what? I'm not gonna give you the candid shit. Look, look. If you guys like listening to stories when you go to sleep, there's an eye mask. Putting a list in here. There it goes. There's the eye mask, which is the MantaSleep eye mask. I don't like taking ads from YouTubers, especially sponsored ads. I think they're shitty. But the MantaSleep mask ad there, I have it included because I reached out to them. I think I was watching. Usually whenever I go to sleep, currently I'm listening to Lost Tapes, I think is his name. Let me make sure I'm not lying to you. Also because he's a good YouTuber. I listen to... I'm going to include him too. Actually, I'll put his link in here. I think he's a good YouTuber. I think he's really good. Lost Tapes. Am I saying this right? Oh, the Tape Library. I'm an idiot. Tape Library. I listen to it. I'm listening to it to go to sleep. There he is, Tape Library. If you guys have not seen him, it's Tape Library. There he is. Code Veronica Remake. That looks really good, too, yeah. I listened to him to go to sleep, and he was talking about the MantaSleep mask. So I got one and to try it out because it has, like, Bluetooth headphones in it. And it works out really well. I don't know. I don't listen to myself to go to sleep because I'd be vain as hell and really stupid. I don't know how well it works with my voice. I'd imagine it works well. But if you guys do listen to creepypasta stories or listen to things to go to sleep, it's really nice. They have little things that don't put pressure on your eyes. You can open your eyes with the mask on. They have Bluetooth headphones built into it. I've been using it every night now. I think it's really good. I will say, if you live in a southern state like me, it does tend to get a little bit hot at night. And they got little cooling things you put over your eyes. I think that's better than, like, the base MantaSleep mask. And that's, like, for every level. I mean, like, I use, like, the high one, which is the sound one that has Bluetooth speakers in it. But even if you, like, the low one without Bluetooth speakers, the cooling eye thing, I think, is, like, the best upgrade you can put on there. I don't live in a northern state. I don't know about the warming ones. I would never use those personally because that would be hot as shit, and I think it'd be terrible for me. If you live in a northern state, if you live in Alaska, hey, yeah, sure, that's probably great. But a MantaSleep mask, I still think is great. I think it's really good. I am telling you guys about it because I use it actually, and not because they've paid me to tell you about this. I reached out to them, and I was like, hey, I want to give this to my audience. Can you guys give me a code? So they did give me a code, so now they pay me. But legitimately, it's a good thing. I came to them. They didn't come to me. They didn't say, "Here, let me give you money so you can talk good about my shit." I went to them and said, "Hey, this is good shit. Can I talk good about your shit?" So, if you want to get one, you get 10% off. Code CreepyPasta. They're good masks. That's it. I'm not gonna look. I'm not saying you have to. Please don't buy it because you're like, oh, MCP said so. So I want him to get money. They're just very generous of you, but don't do that. If you actually want to use it, or if you actually listen to stories at night, or you actually use a sleep mask, get one. It's worth it. It's good. If you don't buy it. Obviously, I'm just saying this. Look, say this as a person. This is me. This is Spike. This is the man behind the mask telling you that this is a good thing. Not forward-facing PR YouTuber Mr. CreepyPasta telling you this. This is me personally saying, hey, this is good, and I want to give it to you guys. Like, actually. Yeah. Okay, that's out of the way. I posted a link in the chat a bit ago to MantaSleep.com, code CreepyPasta, 10% off. Also, I included a link there to the tape library. If you guys have not watched the tape library before, subscribe to them. They're really good. He has a lot of really good stuff. Whereas I work a lot more in fiction. All of mine are like fiction stories. He talks a lot more about like hauntings. And I think you guys would probably very much enjoy that if you enjoy this too. He talks more about true ghost stories. I'm not a big fan of true crime, but I think true ghost stories is still pretty cool. Ghost stories throughout histories, haunted locations throughout histories. And he does really good research about those too. So, yeah. Miss Tales from the Gas Station. Look, when Jack gives me more, I will post more. Until Jack gives me more, I cannot post more. Jack needs to write more Tales from the Gas Station, and life continues for him in the same way it continues for us all. I can tell you this. We got this new story from T.W. Grimm. And after this story, we go back to Bonesaw Vic's Cryptozoological Garden. So we will get more of that. I can't speak for Tales from the Gas Station since I don't know his writing or work schedule. I know that Bonesaw Vic are ones that I commission. So these are ones that I commission. Hello, Format. Thank you so much for the subscription. I think you subscribed, right? Yeah, thank you so much for the sub. Zio, hello. But yeah, there's that. Advertisements out of the way. Patreon.com is CreepyPasta, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Just in time. Hype as fuck for that. Zio, thank you so much for joining. Let me go ahead and get this started up with. In the background, you guys will be able to see whenever like my recording happens. If you see something fucked up happen, please let me know. I can see the chat the entire time whenever I'm recording. However, I cannot always respond to the chat. So if I see something big happen or if I see somebody pop in, I'll try my best to respond. But of course, you know, this is a work stream you guys are a part of. It's I, Taco. Greetings again, Taco. Where's the red thread? There it is. A backroom story. How many doors did you open today? What about in the last week, month, or year? What about in your entire lifetime? The answer to that is probably many. If you're reading this right now, probably not enough of them. So consider yourself lucky or luckier than me, at any rate. My ordeal started about 5 months ago. It was the usual day, wake up, go to work, be bored out of my mind. Only it was a night. I worked the night shift at a small pawn shop. The night passed at a glacial pace. That's usually good news, as I'd browse the internet on my phone, but my charger did that thing when you sleep and it just fucking disconnects, leaving you with no battery to speak of. And me being me, I didn't notice until I'd gotten to work. Great. So I was alone, bored out of my mind for some 10 hours. But the night eventually passed. A coworker came in as morning broke, so I left. On my way to the car, I stopped at a local mart. I grabbed a couple sandwiches and a water bottle. Too lazy to make myself something to eat when I get home, so I figured I'd just wolf down the sandwiches and I'd go to sleep. The commute was only 10 minutes long, and it passed in a blur as I couldn't be bothered to pay attention to anything. My mind had melted under the boredom to the point that I couldn't wait to get home and plug my phone in to watch some YouTube. I pulled up in my driveway and went for the entrance, fumbling for my keys. When I finally found them, I opened the door and entered, still not paying attention to my surroundings. I'd been a little negligent, and I looked inside before going in. My life would have been so different today. But I didn't. The door clicked shut behind me, and I made my way to the kitchen through the corridor. I was also searching through my backpack for one of those sandwiches. I finally noticed something was off when I reached the place where the table should have been, but I didn't bump into it. There was supposed to be a chair here for me to sit down and eat my meal, but there was nothing. I looked up frantically and noticed the table was gone entirely, along with all of the furniture in my kitchen, the drawers, the fridge, even the damn sink. Not a trace of them remained. I was dumbfounded, to say the least. Did someone break in and steal everything while I was gone? But why? How? On a closer inspection, though, I realized it hadn't been thieves because even the sink's drain was gone, replaced by a smooth wall instead. No one could have done this in the 10 hours that I was at work, and even if they could have, I couldn't fathom a reason for them to. I looked up. I saw the light bulb was gone as well. At that point, I started freaking out badly because light still emanated from where it used to be. I grabbed my backpack and I ran to the front door, hastily opening it. The street was gone. In its place, only another empty room. I let out a yelp of surprise mixed with fear as I froze in the doorway. What the hell was going on? I remembered my phone. I pulled it out and prayed that it still had some battery, but I was out of luck. The thing was dead. It took a few minutes to calm down and decide what to do. My breath smoothed out after a while, and I felt confident enough that I'd not have a panic attack, so I closed my eyes, and I opened the door again. Still a room instead of the street. Crap. I explored the rest of the house, hoping to find something that would have helped me understand. But every room was the same story. All the furniture was gone. The walls were uncharacteristically smooth and featureless, and the light bulbs were nowhere to be seen, even though there were plenty of lights to go around. I had hoped against all odds that I'd find my landline phone in the living room, but I think you can guess how well that went. I don't know how much time I spent curling up on the floor of the living room, just crying. And I don't know how much time I spent opening and closing the front door, hoping it would finally reveal the street to me. Many hours, at any rate, until I finally gave up and decided to take a leap of faith. I entered the room my front door led to, closed it behind me, and opened the door again. Now my corridor was gone. Its place taken by a small room with a single door on the other side. If someone would have been there with me, they could have pointed out the exact moment my soul shattered by the pop it made. But no one was there. I was alone and lost in a twilight zone of empty rooms. I sat down, pulled my backpack in my lap, and took a sip of water. I didn't feel hungry yet, so I decided not to touch the sandwiches. With only 2 of them and a liter of water, I had to make them last. My mind went into survival mode, and I didn't know for how long I'd be here or how to get out. Eventually, I decided to take a nap, as I was still tired from the night shift that I'd been through. I decided I'd have a better chance of figuring things out if I was rested. Sleep came swiftly, but it was fitful and as bland as the room I was in. I didn't dream at all. I constantly woke up feeling paranoid, like someone or something was watching me. The 5th time it happened, I jumped to my feet. The room was dark now. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. After I was done shitting bricks, I thought I'd died and was now in some sort of hell, but I walked around slowly and still found the walls of the room in about the places I expected. It clicked in my head. It was nighttime. This place, wherever or whatever it was, kept track of the time outside. I huddled myself in one of the corners and waited for light to return. Now that took a few hours, but with nothing to draw my attention and excite my senses, it felt like a small eternity. There was only me, the darkness, the sounds of my occasional breath, and the pulse of my heart pounding in my ears. I thought I'd go crazy, that I'd start to hallucinate any moment now, but then I noticed a small inkling of light emanating from the ceiling. Dawn was coming. The light slowly grew in intensity, mirroring the pace of a sunrise, but I didn't wait any longer. The moment I could see even the vaguest of shapes, I got up and on the move. Despite the poor quality of my sleep, I felt rested and refreshed, so I started exploring. Door after door, room after room. All I found was more of the same. The walls were different colors, and the shapes of the rooms varied to mirror their purpose. A small closet, a garage, a bathroom, a corridor once in a while. But other than that, they were all the same. For a split second, I felt like I was in a video game, and I'd entered the area that I wasn't supposed to. A building the devs didn't flesh out because no one was meant to enter it. Only this was reality. At one point, I got an idea. I kept finding windows, which, although they didn't show anything on the other side, and were flush with the walls, I thought maybe would lead somewhere, so I threw my water bottle against one of them, hoping to shatter it, but it bounced right off and rolled at my feet. The next few days were spent going from room to room, only stopping at night when I couldn't see a damn thing. But I made a few interesting discoveries, if you want to call them that, and how this place and my body worked now. Closing a door randomized the room on the other side, so you could walk in a circle without getting in the same room twice. As soon as a door left your direct line of sight, even if you'd left it open, it would close on its own. This one I figured out after I had the bright idea of not closing any doors behind me, hoping I'd manage to figure out how big the place was. I didn't need sleep, or at least I didn't need it as often as I normally would. Despite a few days having passed at that point, I didn't feel tired, and I only slept through the first night Despite a few days having passed at that point, I didn't feel tired, and I only slept through that first night I spent in there. Same went with food and water. I didn't feel hungry or thirsty, even though I still had both sandwiches, and the water bottle was missing only the few sips I took on the first day. That was either a curse or a blessing, depending on how you chose to look at it. It would give me more time to find a way out, but it had the potential of prolonging my suffering immensely if I didn't. I decided to take it as a blessing. I decided to take it as a blessing for the time being and kept going. Room after room, day in and day out, I think I opened more doors in that time than I would have in my entire life otherwise. But after roughly a week, I finally found something that wasn't just another bland wall. Though, I wish I hadn't. The first thing that hit me as I entered another room was the gut-wrenching smell. It was stagnant and putrid to the point that it made me retch. It made my eyes water. I slowly looked up and found red trails adorning the floor. They had a radial pattern that led back to a common source. It looked as if they'd flowed at one point or another. And looked as if they'd flowed at one point or another. As my eyes followed them slowly, oh my God. As my eyes followed them, slow and uncertain, my gaze came upon something in the corner. It was a dry husk with its back against the wall and its hands beside its body. The trails led to its wrists. I could see bone beneath the mummified skin. Words were strewn on the wall behind it in the same red colors as the trails on the floor. I backed up slowly as the realization hit me like a truck. This person, whoever he or she might have been, was like me at some point. Someone stuck in here that couldn't take it anymore and decided to end it all. That was their only way out. Their only release, and I feared more and more each day that it would eventually be my only option as well. For hours, I fought back the urge to leave the room and shut the door behind me. The reality of what I was facing sunk deeper and deeper into my soul, bringing with it despair and a feeling of complete helplessness. Many slaps later, I learned to snap myself out of it and approach the corpse to inspect it. Many slaps later, I managed to snap myself out of it and approach the corpse to inspect it. I thought that maybe they'd have something useful on them, though what exactly that would have been, I had no idea. Certainly no food or water, else they'd not have taken their own life. And certainly not a map that led outside, else I'd not have found them in here like this. I fashioned a mask to cover my mouth and nose out of my t-shirt and walked over to it slowly. The words behind it came into view as I got closer, and I could read them when I was a few steps away. Beware the dark. Don't follow the footsteps. The eyes. Oh God, the eyes. Make it stop. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but that was the gist of it. Short sentences with an ominous feeling to them. They certainly did a good job of making me feel like I was drowned in dread. I tried to puzzle them together and draw some meaning from them, but I couldn't. What eyes? What footsteps? I'd been here for more than a week now, but besides the sound I made myself, I didn't hear anything. I still shat my pants reading it, though. I knelt down next to the corpse. I knelt down next to the corpse and started pulling on its clothes in search of pockets. It was dressed pretty blandly, jeans, a t-shirt, so I didn't find much. One of the front pockets had the jeans, revealing a phone with no battery, and the back pocket revealed a wallet. There was a bit of cash in it, a few bills and coins, but I decided not even to count it, let alone take it. But I found an ID and a driver's license, and I took those. I figured that if I ever got out, the least I could do is turn these in, let their relatives know their fate. His name was Brandon. Average-looking 25-year-old guy with dirty blonde hair and sparkling blue eyes. He didn't deserve his fate. I didn't either. I found nothing else on him, so I decided to move on. Staying put wouldn't do me any good. And after finding Brandon's corpse, I felt a renewed sense of urgency. The next few days followed the same pattern as before, stopping only at nightfall before I moved for as long as I could see. But with Brandon's warning to beware the dark, I began stopping the moment the light started to fade. I was itching to move, to keep my mind occupied, so it wouldn't collapse in on me, but I was afraid. I didn't need to see any monsters on top of all that I'd been through. As the second week came and passed, I was certain I traveled for dozens of miles now, and more or less in a straight line, too. I'd grown properly hungry in the meantime, so I ate one of the sandwiches and held on to the other until I'd literally be starving. I was also down to half a bottle of water, but if my body kept it up at the same rate, these meager supplies would have lasted me another month or two. That is, until I found her. As I entered another room, I saw someone huddled in a corner. Thinking it was another corpse, I approached it slowly, my nerves on their ends. It looked shriveled, malnourished. But I couldn't tell if it'd been dead for long now. Decomposition was probably affected the same way as my hunger and thirst, which is why my sandwich went stale, but was still edible. But then she opened her eye. But then she opened an eye, looked at me with horror, and started to scream. I covered my ears to shield them from the loud screech, and it took everything I had in me not to bolt it out the door. I covered my ears to shield them from the loud screech, and it took everything I had in me not to bolt it out the door. She screamed for a solid 30 seconds before she stopped to gasp for air, but I could see she was ready to do it again. "Stop that!" I yelled. I won't hurt you!" She opened both eyes, and they were wide with surprise. A look of disbelief and then of relief washed over her features. And she huddled down tighter. "Help me, please. Oh, God, if you're a real human, then help me." I rushed over to her and knelt down. She looked bad, but knowing she was still alive in her condition made it so much worse. Her face was scrawny, her skin pulled taut over her bones. Her clothes looked a size or two too big, hanging loosely on her frame. Her hair was disheveled, dirty, and bunches of it had fallen off to reveal her bare scalp. "What happened to you?" I asked, although I probably knew the answer. "Do you have anything to eat? Or some water?" she asked. I considered for a moment to lie and tell her no, but I couldn't have lived with myself if I did that. However long I still had to live anyway. I opened up my backpack and offered her the sandwich. She wolfed it down in a few seconds and then licked the plastic wrap clean. "Thank you so much." Oh no. Has there not been any waveforms? Oh my god! Oh my god! Okay, this is broken, isn't it? Oh my god. Oh my god! Oh my god, wait, is this actually broken? Ah. What a to-do to die today at a minute or two till 2. A thing distinctly hard to say, but harder still to do. We'll beat it to 2 at 20 to 2 with the rat-a-tat-tat. We'll beat it to 2 at 20 to 2 with the rat-a-tat. My god, I can't even do my own thing. We'll beat it to 2 at 20 to 2 with a rat-a-tat-tat-tat-2, and a dragon will come when he hears the drum in a minute or two till 2 today. At a minute or two till 2. To sit in solemn silence in a dull, dark dock, in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short, sharp shock from a cheap and chippy chopper on a big black block. A big black block, a short shot. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna kill myself. All I want is a proper cup of coffee, made in a proper copper coffee pot. I may be off my dot, but I want a cup of coffee in a proper copper pot. Tin coffee pots and iron coffee pots. They're no use to me. If I can't have a proper cup of coffee in a proper copper coffee pot, I'll have a cup of tea. Okay, so do I start over? 20 minutes in. How further do I have to go? I was not even halfway. Maybe I start over. Oh my god! Ah! Oh, how was it broken? Or do I move on? I guess I'll start on nothing. And then out. Oh. I got the juice. I got the Elohim, you're right. Yeah, maybe I start over. I got the juice. I got the juice. The juice. I got the juice. Vice City, I feel you. So essentially, look. So this is what happened. This one. Do you use the? No, I can't. So to give you guys a better view perspective of what I do here, you guys technically are hearing me over a HyperX Quad S. It's like a live streaming mic. Okay, it's like a gaming mic. That's what you guys hear me over. The actual recording, which you see behind it, the waveform, goes over my professional mic, which is like, God, what is it? AKG C214. This one has like a lot of, this is a professional microphone that goes through a 1/4 inch to my Evo 4 and then into the PC. The reason you guys don't get this for the live stream is because it looks very quiet, right? In all honesty, like when it records, it's it looks very quiet. It seems very quiet, but that's needed whenever we do the editing for it, so it evens things out and things can't get lost from peaking too high and things like that. The mic I have. Did you say HyperX Quad? Yeah. The one here is a HyperX Quadcast. Is the one you guys hear because it's a lot more of a compressed microphone. It compresses the sound, which makes it seem more consistent through its volume. It's weird. The human eye is different. The human ear is different than you'd think. Look, big volume does not equal big sound sometimes, and I need big sound for the channel. I don't need big sound for the live stream since these are live. So it's two things. Yeah, don't worry about it. There's two microphones. I can't use the things from the live stream because the bad microphone. The good microphone is the ones you just see in the background. I'll start over. I'm gonna. Oh God, it's driving me to drink. How many doors did you open today? How about in the last week, month, or year? What about in your entire life? The answer to that is probably many, yet if you're reading this right now, probably not enough of them. So consider yourself lucky. Or luckier than me, at any rate. My ordeal started about 5 months ago. It was a usual day, wake up, go to work, be bored out of my mind. Only it was a night. Only it was a night. I worked the night shift at a small pawn shop. The night passed at a glacial pace. That's usually good news, as I'd browse the internet on my phone, but my charger did that thing when you sleep, and it just fucking disconnects, leaving you with no battery to speak of. And me, being me, I didn't notice until I got into work. Great. So I was alone and bored out of my mind for some 10 hours, but the night eventually passed. A coworker came in, his morning broke, so I left. On my way to the car, I stopped at a local market and I grabbed a couple of sandwiches and a water bottle. I was too lazy to make it myself. I was too lazy to make myself something to eat when I got home, so I figured I'd just wolf down the sandwiches and go to sleep. The commute was only 10 minutes long, and it passed in a blur as I couldn't be bothered to pay attention to anything. My mind had melted under the boredom to the point that I couldn't wait to get home and plug my phone in to watch some YouTube. I pulled up in my driveway and went for the entrance, fumbling for my keys. When I finally found them, I opened the door and entered, still not paying attention to my surroundings. Had I been a little less negligent? Had I looked inside before going in, my life would have been so different today. But I didn't. The door clicked shut behind me, and I made my way to the kitchen through the corridor. I was also searching through my backpack for one of the sandwiches. I finally noticed something was off when I reached the place where the table should have been, but I didn't bump into it. There was supposed to be a chair here for me to sit down and eat my meal, but there was nothing. I looked up frantically and noticed the table was gone entirely, along with all the furniture in my kitchen. The drawers, the fridge, even the damn sink. Not a trace of them remained. I was dumbfounded, to say the least. Did someone break in and steal everything while I was gone? But why? How? On a closer inspection, though, I realized it hadn't been thieves, because even the sink's drain was gone, replaced by a smooth wall instead. No one could have done this in the 10 hours that I was at work. And even if they could have, I couldn't fathom a reason for them to. I looked up, I saw the light bulb was gone as well. At that point, I started freaking out badly because light still emanated from where it used to be. I grabbed my backpack and ran to the front door, hastily opening it. Thank you, Goodwin. Okay. It's still there. It's still there. I just want to... It is still there. I think I just did a world-class prank would have been crazy. The street was gone. In its place, only another empty room. I let out a yelp of surprise mixed with fear as I froze in the doorway. What the hell was going on? Remembering my phone, I pulled it out and prayed that it still had some battery. Then I was out of luck. The thing was dead. Vice City, you can call me Spike. That's my name. MCP stream, yeah. MCP is the channel and everything. It is what I go by as well. MCP is perfectly fine. Spike is perfectly fine. If you want to type out the full thing, Mr. CreepyPasta, that's also fine. It's just wild. Just say that much. I took a few minutes to calm down and decide what to do. My breath smoothed out after a while, and I felt confident enough I'd not have a panic attack. So I closed my eyes, and I opened the door again. Still a room instead of the street. Crap. I explored the rest of the house, hoping to find something that would have helped me understand, but every room was the same story. All the furniture was gone, the walls were uncharacteristically smooth and featureless, and the light bulbs were nowhere to be seen, even though there was plenty of light to go around. I had hoped against all odds that I'd still find my landline phone in the living room, but I think you can guess how well that went. I don't know how many times I spent curled up on the floor of the living room, just crying. And I don't know how much time I spent opening and closing the front door, hoping it would finally reveal the street to me. Many hours, at any rate, until I finally gave up and decided to take a leap of faith. I entered the room my front door led to, closed it behind me, and opened the door again. Now my corridor was gone. Its place taken by a small room with a single door on the other side. If someone would have been there with me, they could have pointed out the exact moment my soul shattered by the pop it made, but no one was there. I was all alone and lost in a twilight zone of empty rooms. I sat down, pulled my backpack in my lap, and took a sip of water. I didn't feel hungry yet, so I decided not to touch the sandwiches. With only 2 of them and a liter of water, I had to make them last. My mind went into survival mode. I didn't know how long I'd been here or how to get out. Eventually, I decided that I'd have to take a nap. Eventually, I decided to take a nap, as I was still tired from the night shift I'd been through. I decided I'd have a better chance of figuring things out if I was rested. Sleep came swiftly, but it was fitful and as bland as the room I was in. I didn't dream at all. I constantly woke up feeling paranoid, like someone or something was watching me. The 5th time that happened, I jumped to my feet. The room was dark now. I couldn't even see my hand in front of my face. After I was done shitting bricks, I thought that I'd died and was now in some sort of hell. But I walked around slowly and still found the walls of the room in about the places I expected. It clicked in my head. It was nighttime. This place, wherever or whatever it was, kept track of the time outside. I huddled myself in one of the corners and waited for light to return. That took a few hours, but with nothing to draw my attention and excite my senses, it felt like a small eternity. There was only me. The darkness. Sounds of my occasional breath. And the pulse of my heart pounding in my ears. I thought I'd go crazy, that I'd start to hallucinate any moment now, but then I noticed a small inkling of light emanating from the ceiling. Dawn was coming. The light slowly grew in intensity, mirroring the pace of a sunrise, but I didn't wait any longer. The moment I could see even the vaguest of shapes, I got up and on the move. Despite the poor quality of my sleep, I felt rested and refreshed, so I started exploring. Door after door, room after room. All I found was more of the same. The walls, different colors, and the shapes of the rooms varied to mirror their purpose. A small closet, a garage, a bathroom, a corridor once in a while, but other than that, they were all the same. For a split second, I felt like I was in a video game and I'd entered an area that I wasn't supposed to. A building the devs didn't flesh out because no one was meant to enter it. Only this was reality. At one point, I got an idea. I kept finding windows which, although they didn't show anything on the other side and were flush with the walls, I thought maybe they would lead somewhere. So I threw my water bottle against one of them, hoping to shatter it. But it bounced right off and rolled at my feet. The next few days were spent going from room to room, only stopping at night when I couldn't see a damn thing. But I made a few interesting discoveries, if you want to call them that, about how this place and my body work now. Closing a door randomized the room on the other side, so you could walk in a circle without going in the same room twice. As soon as a door left your direct line of sight, even if you'd left it open, it would close on its own. This one I figured out after I had the bright idea of not closing any doors behind me, hoping I'd managed to figure out how big the place was. I didn't need sleep, or at least I didn't need it as often as I normally would. Despite a few days having passed at that point, I didn't feel tired, and I only slept through the first night I spent there. Same went for food and water. I didn't feel hungry or thirsty, even though I still had both sandwiches and the water bottle were missing only the few sips that I took on the first day. That was either a curse or a blessing, depending on how you chose to look at it. It would give me more time to find a way out, but it had the potential of prolonging my suffering immensely if I didn't. I decided to take it as a blessing for the time being and kept going. Room after room, day in and day out, I think I opened more doors in that time than I would have in my entire life otherwise, but after roughly a week, I finally found something that wasn't just another bland wall. Though, I wished I hadn't. The first thing that hit me as I entered another room was the gut-wrenching smell. It was stagnant and putrid, to the point it made me retch and made my eyes water. I slowly looked up and found red trails adorning the floor. They had a radial pattern that led back to a common source, and looked as if they'd flowed at one point or another. As my eyes followed them, slow and uncertain, my gaze came upon something in the corner. It was a dark hut. It was a dry husk, with its back against the wall and its hands beside its body. The trails led to its wrists, and I could see bone beneath the mummified skin. Words were strewn on the wall behind it, in the same red color as the trails on the floor. I backed up slowly as the realization hit me like a truck. This person, whoever he or she might have been, was like me at some point. Someone stuck in here that couldn't take it anymore and decided to end it all. That was their only way out. Their only release. And I feared more and more each day that it would eventually be my only option as well. For hours, I fought back the urge to leave the room and shut the door behind me. The reality of what I was facing sunk in deeper and deeper into my soul, bringing with it despair and a feeling of complete helplessness. Many slaps later, I managed to snap myself out of it and approached the corpse to inspect it. I thought that maybe they'd have something useful on them, though what exactly that would have been, I had no idea. Certainly no food or water, else they'd not have taken their own life. There's certainly not a map that led outside, else I'd not have found them in here like this. I fashioned a mask to cover my mouth and nose out of my t-shirt and walked over to it slowly. The words behind it came into view as I got closer, and I could read them when I was a few steps away. Beware the dark. Don't follow the footsteps. The eyes. Oh God, the eyes. Make it stop. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but that was the gist of it. Short sentences with an ominous feeling to them. They certainly did a good job of making me feel like I'd drowned in dread. I tried to puzzle them together and draw some meaning from them, but I couldn't. What eyes? What footsteps? I'd been here for more than a week now, but besides the sounds I made myself, I didn't hear anything. Still shat my pants reading it, though. I knelt down next to the corpse and started pulling on its clothes in search of pockets. It was dressed pretty blandly, jeans and a t-shirt, so I'd not find much. One of the front pockets of the jeans revealed a phone with no battery, and the back pocket revealed a wallet. There was a bit of cash in it, a few bills and coins, but I decided not to even count it, let alone take it. But I found an ID and a driver's license. I took those. I figured that if I ever got out, the least I can do is turn these in, let their relatives know their fate. His name was Brandon. An average-looking, 25-year-old guy with dirty blonde hair, sparkling blue eyes. He didn't deserve his fate. I didn't either. I found nothing else on him, so I decided to move on. Staying put wouldn't do me any good, and after finding Brandon's corpse, I felt a renewed sense of urgency. The next few days followed the same pattern as before, stopping only at nightfall. Before I moved for as long as I could see. But with Brandon's warning to beware the dark, I began stopping the moment the light started to fade. I was itching to move, to keep my mind occupied so I wouldn't collapse in on me. But I was afraid. I didn't need to see any monsters on top of all that I'd been through. As the second week came and passed, I was certain I'd traveled for dozens of miles now, and more or less in a straight line, too. I'd grown properly hungry in the meantime, so I ate one of the sandwiches and held onto the other one until I'd literally be starving. I was also down to half a bottle of water, but if my body kept it up at the same rate, these meager supplies wouldn't last me for another month or two. But if I kept my... I was also down to half a bottle of water, but if my body kept up at the same rate, these meager supplies would have lasted me another month or two. Unless I'd have found her. Doesn't make sense. Right? These meager supplies would have lasted me another month or two, unless I'd found her. I guess, yeah. That was, unless I'd found her. As I entered another room, I saw someone huddled in a corner. Thinking it was another corpse, I approached it slowly, my nerves on their ends. It looked shriveled, malnourished, but I couldn't tell if it had been dead for long. Yeah, Goodwin, that's what I felt. I feel like it should be until, right? The supplies would have lasted me another month or two until I found another person. Not unless. Unless does make sense there, right? Unless I found her. But that implies that I would have known her before the calculation took place. It doesn't really matter that much. I'm being dumb. Thinking it was another corpse, I approached it slowly, my nerves on their ends. It looked shriveled, malnourished, but couldn't tell if they'd been dead for long now. Decomposition was probably affected the same way as my hunger and thirst, which is why my sandwich went stale, but still edible. But then she opened an eye, looked at me with horror, and started to scream. I covered my ears to shield them from the loud screech, and it took everything I had in me to not bolt it out the door. She screamed for a solid 30 seconds before she stopped to gasp for air, but I could see that she was ready to do it again. "Stop that!" I yelled. I won't hurt you!" She opened both eyes, and they were wide with surprise. A look of disbelief and then of relief washed over her features as she huddled down tighter. "Help me. Please, oh God. If you're a real human, help me." I rushed over to her and knelt down. She looked bad, but knowing she was still alive in her condition made it so much worse. Her face was scrawny, her skin pulled taut over her bones. Her clothes looked a few sizes too big, hanging loosely on her frame. Her hair was disheveled, dirty, and bunches of it had fallen off to reveal her bare scalp. "What happened to you?" I asked, although I probably knew the answer. "Do you have anything to eat? Or some water?" she asked. I considered for a moment to lie and tell her no, but I couldn't live with myself if I did that. However long I still had to live anyway. I opened my backpack and offered her the sandwich. She wolfed it down in a few seconds and then licked the plastic wrap clean. "Thank you so much," she said after she was done. "I haven't eaten in months." I gave her the water bottle, too, told her to drink it slowly. I was no expert in malnutrition and starvation, but I knew that if the stomach is empty for a long time, it's not good. I was no expert in malnutrition and starvation, but I knew that if the stomach was empty for a long time, it's not a good idea to stuff it all of a sudden. She, of course, didn't listen to me and drank the water in a few gulps. I couldn't really blame her, though. I can't even imagine what it feels like to not eat or drink for months. We stood in silence for a while, because I allowed her to regain some composure. She eventually opened her mouth and started to talk. To this day, I still regret hearing her words. "Have you seen it yet?" she asked. "Seen what?" I asked back. "So you didn't travel through the dark then?" she continued. No, I haven't. Can't see shit, so when night comes I stay put." "Good," she said. "You didn't answer me, though." "See what?" I tried to get more out of her, but my attempts were met with failure. She didn't evade my questions. She outright shot them down and told me it was for my own good. Seeing that I didn't relent, however, she eventually told me something. "Listen, you really are better off not knowing. And believe me, it just won't travel through the dark, and you'll be safe." "Fine," I said, accepting defeat. The terror in her voice was not hidden at all. It was laid thick on every word she spoke. So I didn't pester her further. Still, her questions and cryptic words felt eerily familiar. Brandon's words, written in blood, came to mind. "Beware the dark." I stayed by her side as the day passed and night settled. Even though I was itching to get on the move again, I had not seen another human or spoken to anyone in over 2 weeks. And although I thought that I'd never miss it, that changed. I was starved for conversation, for interaction, and most importantly, for information. Her name was Vanessa. She was 25 years old and had been living a few towns over from me. One day, 3 months before I found her, she went to the bathroom in her own apartment. Preoccupied with her phone, she didn't check on the room she entered. Only when the door was shut behind her, she was cut off from the outside world. Okay. Only when the door was shut behind her and she was cut off from the outside world did she notice something was up. By then it was too late. She's been trapped in here ever since. Her story sent chills down my spine, as it was very similar to mine. In a moment of distraction, she walked through a door she'd opened countless times before, only for it to lead her here. The gears in my head started spinning as I began to theorize the how and why. I knew these rooms were copies of real ones, that much was evident. I knew these rooms were copies of real ones. That much was evident from day one, seeing as I entered my own house and thought someone had stolen all of my furniture, and I knew they were randomized upon closing the doors. But where was this place? Outside of our reality? Did we enter it because we weren't paying attention, or was it something like quantum mechanics, where the contents of the rooms weren't decided until they were observed? That I didn't know. Could have been any one of them, a combination of them, something else entirely. Anyway, after me and Vanessa talked some more, she fell asleep. She was obviously weak, so I didn't wake her. I stood by her side as the light slowly dimmed, hoping she'd get enough strength back the next day to walk. I myself couldn't sleep. In fact, ever since I'd gotten here, I only slept that one time through the first night. The rest of them I spent awake, pondering my predicament and my life thus far. Tonight, I was glad to have someone next to me, even though all I could hear was her steady breathing. I wasn't alone anymore, and that was the only thing that mattered. About halfway through the night, I got up and paced around through the room for a bit to stretch my legs. I do this every night to stop my muscles from going stiff, but I never left the rooms I was in. At one point, I stopped after maybe 10 minutes of walking in circles. I listened for Vanessa so I could return next to her. It didn't take me long to pick up on her breathing. But before I could take a single step towards her, I heard footsteps. I stood as still as I could, listening, hoping my mind was only playing tricks on me, but it wasn't. Although they were faint and sounded like they came from far away, I could clearly make out every step. They were slow, with a few seconds between them, but they followed a steady rhythm. I turned to face the direction they seemed to come from and took a few steps of my own. Slow and careful not to make a sound, I inched forward until my outstretched hand met the wood of the door. I leaned against it, pressing my ear on the wood, and heard the footsteps clearer. I hoped it would be another person. I hoped me and Vanessa would get another companion to help us out, but the more I listened, the more that hope was eroded away until it shattered entirely. The steps were too heavy for a normal human, too drawn out, and besides that, the room they seemed to come from wasn't decided yet. For all intents and purposes, I shouldn't have been able to hear them. The moment that realization hit me, Brandon's warning and Vanessa's question suddenly made sense. A deep sense of dread and fear took over me, and I made my way next to Vanessa without even taking a single breath. The night passed one heartbeat at a time. One footstep at a time, because they never went away, not until the light returned in full. At that point, I woke Vanessa up. She came to her senses slowly, and I noticed the change in my demeanor. Did you see it? Was the first thing she asked me. No. Did you hear the footsteps, then? Yes, but I didn't follow them. We should be safe, then. Vanessa tried to get up on her own, but she couldn't. She was still too weak, and we both Vanessa tried to get up on her own, but she couldn't. She was still too weak, and we both doubted a sandwich and a bit of water could change that. I helped her to her feet and threw one of her arms around my shoulders, basically dragging her along. You don't have to, she said as we walked towards the door opposite the footsteps I heard the night before. I'm not going by myself, I cut her short. If I spent another night awake by myself, I'd lose it. She didn't say anything. Having been alone for the past month, she probably understood me. We spent the day walking in a straight line, door after door, hoping one of them would lead us outside. It hadn't, of course. And by nightfall, we stopped once again. I sat Vanessa down in a corner and laid next to her. She lifted her right pant leg to reveal her shin, and I saw it was full of straight cuts in various stages of healing. I didn't know what to make of them, but they looked suspiciously like tally marks. With the nail of her thumb, she cut another line into her skin. She winced a bit, but didn't let out a sound. Seeing my confusion, she started to explain. I'm counting the days I've been here. On your skin? I asked, unnerved by it. I've got nothing else, she said. God damn it, I need tea. There's my wife. I messaged my wife real quick and asked for gashel greens. More creepypasta whilst at the forge. Yo, Vice City, you do blacksmithing? Brother, I'm gonna hit you up. Wanting to do that. We talked a bit more, mostly about our lives. She'd finished high school, but didn't pursue a higher education. That left her working at a restaurant as a waitress to make a living. There she met the man that would soon become her boyfriend and then fiance. He was the son of the owner, but from what Vanessa told me, he worked with them whenever he needed. He sounded like a swell guy to me, honestly. Anyway, two of them moved into an apartment by themselves a year prior, and they'd been happy together. Vanessa said she could already see the rest of her life with him until this happened to her. I told her I was in a similar position to hers. Working a dead-end job in order to scrape by. Only, I'd wasted years of my life going to college, getting a degree that never led me anywhere. I still live with my parents in our small suburban home, hoping to find someone to share my days with. We start a family. Yeah, dude, no, I understand what you're saying, Vice City. I've been wanting to get into it because it seems really cheap to get started out with the Amazon stuff. I've watched other YouTubers, like blacksmith YouTubers, were talking about, like, the Amazon things seem really cheap. But you can actually, like, work with them still, and it's, like, a good place to start. And it seems like a good physical activity, I consider. It looks fun. Well, you can guess how well that went, I said, trying to pass it off as a joke. Vanessa managed to giggle, but you could tell she didn't really taste my joke. I didn't blame her, but I always found humor alleviates bad situations for me. We kept talking until the lights vanished almost completely. And we'd have done it even after, probably all through the night, but something we heard stopped us. Footsteps. Goddamn footsteps. They returned as the last rays were gone, seemingly closer than last night. We held our breath, listening in anticipation for what must have been hours. We huddled closer together, bunching into one another for a fleeting sense of safety. The night eventually passed. We were both still alive by the end of it, scared out of our minds, but alive. Alive. We spent about 2 more months traveling together, passing the days with small talk and the nights fearing for our lives. The footsteps got closer some nights, but we kept quiet. They wouldn't approach us. We both got weaker by the day, withering away to hunger and thirst. But Vanessa was much worse off than me. I didn't think someone could be that thin and still live. I think only her will to survive and see this through kept her alive at that point. We'd made very little progress for a few days, and I guess we both knew that she didn't have long left, but I refused to acknowledge it. One evening, as we stopped for the day, she was too weak to even talk to me. She went straight to sleep, which worried me, since I didn't need to sleep once since I'd met her. When morning finally came, and she woke up, she kept uncharacteristically silent. I waited half an hour for her to wake up fully before I suggested we get on the move again, but she stopped me. Hey, Wild! No, this is a work stream. I don't know why every time I go live from Restream.io, it immediately chooses Baldur's Gate 3. Let me fix that, actually. Dash. This is a work stream for me, so I'm recording CreepyPasta stories. That's nice. Just leave me, she said in a weak, sad voice. Well, no, I don't have much left, and I'm only slowing you down. No, I protested. It's not some movie. You're not doing some heroic sacrifice for me. She didn't fight me about it. Maybe she was too weak to. Maybe she simply didn't care anymore. Knowing we'd both meet our end regardless. Fine. She accepted my decision after a while. But at least let me tell you the truth. God knows how much time I have left. This might be my last chance to. I wanted to stop her, to contradict her, and reassure her we'd make it eventually, but I listened. I was curious, but I didn't want to risk braving this place alone without knowing exactly what I'm in for. There's something in here with us, she said after a long pause. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's hunting us down. If you move during the night, it picks up on you, I think. And then it just starts circling the rooms in search for you, making those footsteps we've been hearing. You make noise, or if you follow the footsteps, it can find you. I started, but the words got stuck in my throat. Did you see it? I did, she admitted with a surprised calmness. When I first got here, actually, I ran around for a few days, even through the dark. And one night, I bumped into it. Didn't get a good look at it. I ran away like hell, and I guess I lost it. How did it look? I asked, even though I was sure I'd regret finding out. It has tall, gaunt, spindly limbs, Vanessa said, and paused for a moment. Her sight got lost in empty space, and for a few heartbeats, I was sure she wasn't there with it. Her sight got lost in empty space, and for a few heartbeats, I was sure she wasn't there with me anymore, on a mental level. And those eyes, she eventually added. Red, shining, and... Tears formed around her eyes, flowed down her cheeks, but her expression didn't change to reflect that. Haunting? I asked. She nodded her head. Okay, he said, that's enough. Not sure I want to hear more, and I'm pretty sure it's not doing you any good to try and remember more. She sheepishly nodded her head again, so we closed the subject. We got on the move at a glacial pace, with breaks every other hour or so for her to catch her breath. We mostly kept silent, with barely a few words exchanged between us, but I still appreciated her presence. I think another week or so passed, and Vanessa withered away visibly day by day. It wasn't long before she couldn't walk anymore, and she kept insisting that I either leave her or end her. But I didn't do either. I couldn't do either. At least not in the meantime. For as long as I was able, I'd carry her around on my back, which is exactly what I did. And even though she was more bone than flesh at that point, She still felt very heavy. A clear sign of my own degradation. We traveled less and less, starting up later and stopping sooner every day. Vanessa kept tallying the days on her skin until she ran out of room on her legs and had to move on to her forearms. Bored one evening, we counted the marks, and we found that she'd been in here for a little over 6 months. At the rate I'm going, she said after a while, I have maybe another month left. She didn't bring it up again, but I knew from the look in her eyes she was afraid. Despite her inhuman amounts of resolve, she feared what another month in her condition would mean. So much pain, so much suffering, and although she never said it, I knew she was angry with me for refusing to end it for her. That night was the first time I slept as well. Couldn't describe how good it felt. Escaping the hell I was in, even for a few hours, was a blessing, but unfortunately, I didn't get to relish in it for too long. All the stress, all the anxiety, all that worry that built up in me, they turned into nightmares and ruined my rest. I dreamt of Vanessa dying, of me crying over her lifeless body, my resolve to continue shattered. And then she opened her eyes and reached a skeletal arm out towards me. I tried to scream and back away from her, but you know how well that goes in dreams. I was paralyzed. The yells frozen in my throat. She threw me to the ground effortlessly. "Why didn't you kill me?" she asked, climbing over me and wrapping her fingers around my throat. I couldn't answer, and I could in fact barely fight her. I thrashed around beneath her, tried to scream again and again, but I thrashed around beneath her and tried to scream again and again, but I was only met with failure. The struggle didn't last for long, though. Fortunately, the real Vanessa woke me up, but I let out a single loud screech as I came to and regained control of my body. "It's all right. It's okay. You're okay. You're okay," he whispered. It covered my mouth. The silence that engulfed us was so all-consuming that I could hear the beating of my own heart in my ears. I kept quiet as the shock of the nightmares faded away, and Vanessa did the same, not making a single sound. I could barely even hear her breathing. As my senses adjusted, I heard something faint and distant. Footsteps somewhere far away, the doors squeaking as they opened and closed. They were getting closer. I knew that the creature heard my scream. It was only a matter of time until it would reach us. "We have to move," I whispered to Vanessa. "We'll be found." "We can't outrun it," Vanessa said. "And it'll hear us. It'll hear the doors." The footsteps got even closer, to the point I could tell them apart. The creature was only a few rooms away at best. "We don't have a choice," I said as I got to my feet. "Let's go. We'll figure something out." I didn't wait for Vanessa to answer. The footsteps were maybe 2 rooms away. We didn't have time to argue any longer. I took her hands and pulled her to her feet, getting her on my back and taking off. I tried my best to move as quietly as possible, but as soon as I opened the first door, the footsteps quickened behind us. The door to our room opened just as we left it, and I heard a guttural scream from behind. That was all I needed to convince me to throw all caution to the wind. I sped up, not quite running, but hurrying the best of my abilities. I went at random, opening and closing all the doors in my wake, but the creature was onto us. I didn't have the strength to go any faster and lose it. It soon caught up to us, and I turned my head around in time to get a glimpse of it. Dread invaded me at the sight of its glowing eyes, filled with malice, and I almost tripped right then and there, but I kept going. And by some miracle, I stayed ahead of it for a little while longer. "Leave me," Vanessa urged. "I'm a goner anyway. I'll buy you some time to get away." No way in hell, I yelled back at her. Not an option. The next room was a flight of stairs with no other route in sight. I could barely make out a door all the way up, and with the way I came from... Okay. I could barely make out a door all the way up, and with the way I came from blocked by the creature, I started ascending. I didn't think I'd make it 5 steps before I tripped and was forced to continue on all fours. Vanessa was barely hanging on to me, and I felt her grip around my throat loosening. Whether or not she was letting go intentionally, I'll never know. Your guess is as good as mine. At any rate, she didn't get to fall off my back. The creature caught up to us, bounding up the stairs like a crazed animal, and it got its calloused hands around my ankle. I tried to kick it away to keep going, but in a single motion, it hurled me through the air and back down the stairs. I landed hard on my back, getting the air knocked out of me. And I heard Vanessa crash to the floor somewhere to my right. Through the stars in my vision, I could vaguely make out her form in the murky darkness. She was completely still. Vanessa! I yelled, crawling towards her. Go, she yelled back. Get. Her words were cut short by the creature as it plowed into her. It picked her off the ground so fast in its spindly body. It picked her up off the ground so fast that its spindly body was just a blur of shadows and movement. I heard a loud thud as it pinned Vanessa against a wall, and heard her gargle as she tried to scream. Our eyes locked for a final time, and behind her gaze I saw a terrifying calm. An acceptance of her fate that I didn't think possible. She mouthed, "Go," one final time, and her eyes left mine, moving to meet those of the creature. I didn't want to. My heart screamed at me to stay, to fight, to help, but my tired, malnourished body fought me back, and I found myself turning around, limping away on all fours as I reached the door and left the room. I heard a sickening sound of flesh and bone being torn apart as the creature let out squeals of satisfaction. It won. It got its prey. It's good. I just had to finish that paragraph. Thank you. Chat says hello.
Hello, chat. How you doing? Nerds.
Thank you.
And what was talking?
I forgot about this one.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Bo. Yeah.
Love you, bye.
I went as fast as I could, closing all of the doors behind me, hoping that the rooms would get reshuffled and I'd be safe. More than once I was tempted to either stop or outright turn around because what was the point? But I kept going until my lungs burned and my soul felt raw. The human survival spirit is a hell of a thing. After Vanessa's death, I had no idea how much time passed. Days, weeks, month. Even slowed down as it was, hunger and dehydration were finally catching up to me, and I soon started resembling the state that Vanessa had been in during her final days. With my conscience lapsing in and out. That's right. I think consciousness. With my consciousness lapsing in and out, spending more and more time sleeping each day, I picked a room and decided to just give up. To let myself die in the nightmare. But that didn't get to happen, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here, telling you my story. One faithful evening, as the lights in the room dimmed to almost nothing, one of the doors opened. 2 figures walked inside, shining flashlights in my face. I opened my crusted eyes slowly. I tried to speak, but all that escaped my mouth was a throaty rasp. "Bloody hell, mate," one of the figures said in a thick British accent. "He's still alive! Get him out!" More people appeared from behind the two, brandishing shotguns and firemen's axes. Two of them grabbed me by my feet and arms, hauling me up and carrying me along. I passed out on the way, but I was conscious for long enough to notice that they'd left every door open behind them. They also spread a thick steel rope as they went. It kept the doors from closing and reshuffling. I made it out of the back rooms 4 months after I'd entered. And I woke up in a small town in northern Alaska. Seeing as I'm from West Virginia, I was quite a ways away from home. The local doctor defied the odds in treating me, and his idea of keeping me in the back rooms for another day while he gave me liquids and glucose was quite smart. Feared that bringing me back outside into the real world would have just caused my body to instantly collapse and die. I didn't get to meet my saviors. By the time I woke up after a few days of non-stop sleeping, they were already gone. A pair of monster hunters named Damien, British guy, and his apprentice named Miles. That's all I managed to get out of the locals. Men in black arrived before long, and they made up a story about me being kidnapped by human traffickers for unknown reasons. We were all on the same page. They contacted my family to let them know I was alive. Transport was arranged for me to return back home. I made it without incident. But my life hasn't been the same since. And for starters, I removed all the unnecessary doors in my home. I replaced the rest with glass ones so I could always see what laid on the other side. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to share Brandon and Vanessa's fates with their families. For the lack of trying. Believe me, I did try. From the day I got home, the men in black, they've been keeping me under surveillance. For how long they'll keep it up, I don't know. Not even sure for who they work for. Beyond a nebulous concept, they're part of some branch of the government. Anyway, that's all I got. I wish I had a better resolution. A happy ending, but I don't. I'm a scarred and traumatized shell of the person I used to be, and no amount of therapy and medication can fix me, and I'll forever be paranoid when opening doors. I'll never again in my life enter a room without checking what is on the other side first. That's it. That's the ending of the story. It did not cut off. Okay, yeah, I don't even know who they work for. Sounds weird. I kind of agree, but I mean, like, that feels more like a slang term than it does like a, than anything else. There's like, I could say like there's like some level of slang that goes into things, which is fine. It's just whenever there's a weird thing. Also, some things that are grammatically correct, I feel like it just doesn't like sound right when spoken. You know what I'm saying? It was good. Yo, thank you so much. Hey, Mariposa. How you doing? Okay, I have the next one. If I have two today. Let me get this one over to my editor first, and then I'll move on to the next one. It goes to you. Into the upload folder. And okay. Now to find the new one. That's correct. Oh, that's weird. I don't want that. I think there's like a wonderful mwah for who they work. For who they work for. I don't even know for who they work for. Yeah, it's the repeated use of it. For whom they work. For whom they work. I don't even know who they work for should have been that. I don't know. It's not a big deal. You're gonna make me think about it. I'm gonna be thinking about it nonstop, dude. So. Okay, so that's there. The brain of a writer. I lose sleep if I don't think. Yeah, look, that's what the problem I have also is like I want to be authentic to what the writer put down, but sometimes if I do find a grammatical error, I do have to also I have to think, is it a reflection of what the character is saying? Because I mean, these are first person, right? It's not like this guy is writing this out with a thesaurus and spell checker open. So, is it actually done this way because it's intended to be, which sometimes is the case? That's just the way the character speaks, or the way that the character would iterate this. They're not exactly, they're not an author and they're not a scholar. They are a character. Is it done that way because that's how he would speak, or is it done that way because it's a mistake? Like there's a lot of different things to go in here. Let me fix the titles real quick before I get started on this next one. Nothing. When do I want to get Autumn on here? I just want to talk about recording. Talk about characters, dude. I should do I want to do a panel with Autumn. Right, and sometimes post after just a cursory spell check. I occasionally flub it up and don't catch my mistakes in prose and proper work. No, dude, that's fine. I think that's it. Whenever you're if you're doing publishing stuff, it's also you don't really think about it. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that you would especially think about all the time, doing things like this, because you have 2 or 3 other editors that are going to touch the work as they're working on it. You know what I'm saying? So it's really not that big a deal. I am taking a look also. I think there is a. I don't have this open. Maybe I'll put this here. Hopefully this isn't making any sound. I don't have the TikTok chat open. I don't think Restream can actually see it. So I'm going to put this here. Just so if, any comments or questions are asked on TikTok, I can be able to see it. Let me make sure this isn't making sound. No, okay. I already went back through the story of I did some corrections and found out after I posted it. Dude, don't even worry about it. Should be no mistakes. There should no. Everybody is human beings. And a human beings is to human being is to, what is it? Making mistakes, making errors is to be human. Having a lovely evening. You as well. You as well, Shadowed Silent. I'm going to go ahead and I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this next story. Because I do have my personal live stream in I have about 2 hours. So we're going to go with this one as much as I can within the next probably hour and a half. Because I do want to give myself time to get dinner in between one stream and the next. I put my headphones on, always sleep. Let's just CreepyPasta. I'll do the ad again. in between, because there's only 2 stories. Why not? Fuck it, right? Well, first of all, hey guys, thank you guys for watching. I know there's been like a lot of like messages. Gio Rockland, hey, in between whenever I'm doing stories and then things like that. I'm sorry if I don't respond sometimes. Obviously, I don't want to break character too much. My editor's gonna get mad at me. I do have 2 stories for today. They're very long stories, so one I just finished was the backroom story. This new one is from T.W. Grimm. We're gonna go as far into T.W. Grimm story as I can. But, you know, can't know everything all the time, forever. I have multiple things that I work on at once. Then I get the one from Nightbot. If you guys like listening to CreepyPasta stories while, something, timers. Which one's turned on? You guys listen to CreepyPasta stories when you go to sleep. I'm gonna go ahead and put this here. Coupon code. That says Soupon code. Coupon code CreepyPasta for 10% off. There you go. If you guys like listening to CreepyPasta stories, whenever you're going to sleep, I would suggest the Manta SOUND Sleep Mask. Am I sponsored? Yes. Am I sponsored because they came to me? No. I went to them. I was like, hey, I've been using this for a little bit. I want to be able to bring it to my audience. Can you guys give me a coupon code? And they gave me a coupon code to be able to give to you guys. I'm literally sponsored because I asked them, not the other way around. They're not paying me to tell you guys this shit's good, and then, like, I'm going to lie to you. I don't buy things from YouTubers because I don't trust them. Not to say, like, my fellow YouTubers would do that. Look, I understand it. We're all trying to make a living, and that's fine. And if they bring you a quality product that they themselves enjoy, you know, that is what it is. Me, personally, I don't like buying from YouTubers. I feel like it's pretty hacky. This is also why I'm telling you guys about MantaSleep on my own. This is something I use because I listen to YouTubers when I go to sleep, or I listen to stories when I go to sleep, and this is what I use. That's why I went over to them specifically, and I'll put this guy's channel back in there again. The Tapes Libraries. The Tape Library is a YouTuber that I watch whenever I go to sleep. That's him. Oh, new film, hey. That's him. He's really good. If you guys like listening to me, I strongly suggest you check out him. He's also who I found out about the Manta Sleep Mask from, because apparently, like, that's like the only sponsor he takes. I think he's wild that he does that. But yeah, I think that's who I found out about, and then it was cool. It's cool. I think it's a good thing. I use it every night whenever I go to sleep. If you guys actually listen to CreepyPasta to sleep, and you do use a sleep mask, then check it out. It's very good. If you don't spend money just because I'm telling you to. Seriously. Don't buy something and then put it in your closet forever. Don't waste your money on things like that because the YouTuber tells you to. Buy it if you actually think you could use it, or you will use it. Get stories from? Sorry if it's been asked before. No, you're good. Typically, whenever I get stories, they either get emailed to me directly, or they will be ones that I will scout for on Reddit. I have a friend of mine who goes through and does scouting. They read through stories, they find good ones, and they send me ones. They get posted to Reddit. No sleep. You can also send me your stories, mrcreepypasta@gmail.com. I will get to them sometimes. That's the best place to be able to get contacted from me. But quite honestly, if you guys want to grow as an author as well, I suggest finding really good. Yeah, because it's all my money so far goes for bills, dude. I feel you can win. Living is not cheap. But yeah, I suggest finding like a nice community on Reddit also. It's good for writing. No Sleep, I think, is good. It's a popular place to post. You get like a lot of variety there, but they do also have a good amount of rules and regulations that makes it difficult to post there all the time. You can find a lot of other stuff also, like how was it called? This short scary stories, the creepypasta things, places where you want to be able to write and get feedback. I think is really good. So, yeah. Cutting into my ear. Okay, so Tani, 100%. You are the target I'm speaking to. You were the guys who were, actually, Vice City, yes, please. The guys I'm speaking to specifically. So I would do that because, like, my wife also sleeps next to me, and I don't want to turn on sounds or specifically anything scary that gives her nightmares. So I would sleep with my AirPods in, which is very bad for you. It does do damage to your ears and things like that. These ones, like, so the Manta Sound Sleep Mask has a soft Bluetooth speaker. I'm not going to say, like, it can't put pressure on your ear, because it can, but it's, like, it is soft and flat. I mean, like, it's technology, right? So it can still put somewhat pressure on it. But it's really padded, and it makes it nice and easy. They're also padded on your eyes. So if you guys are used to using, like, regular sleep masks, they normally, like, you have a thing that kind of pressures on your eyes. These kind of, like, have a cushion around them, so you can still open your eyes with them on. It's weird. But it's nice, because if you, like, wake up in the middle of the night, you open your eyes, it's solid black. It's easier to fall back to sleep. I will say, if you're like me and you live in a southern state, they do get really warm, because these things are really padded, right? They also have, like, a replacement eye cup you can use that's a cooling one, that you, like, put in the freezer, and then you put them on at night, and it cools you down. I think that's worth it if you get the sound one, or if you just get, like, the cheaper version of it that doesn't have sound. Like, the cooling one is nice if you sleep, if you want to have it, like, colder at night. I think it's good. I got a bunch of other shit also for sleeping. This is the main thing I speak about because it's, you know, relevant. So, yeah. Oh, living grandparents in the 50s. I'd permanently time travel back just to be able to afford things easier. Good when I feel you. If I wasn't a black man, I also would want to travel back to the 1950s. However, that makes things difficult for me. Hey, Lynn, thank you so much for the raid. Cooling, oh my god. Yeah, you can get, like, cooling so those are the good ones. Like, if there's any, like, upgrade I suggest from the website, it's the cooling ones. I think the cooling ones are really, really good. Because it's really hot, right? At least, like, where I'm at, it's, like, really humid and really hot. Like, even trying to, like, have the AC on where it tries to cool it down, it does, but it gets really rough. So having the cooling ones on your head feels good, especially around your eyes. It helps you sleep. Also, generally your head and face is more vascular, so it actually does cool your body down a lot more when you try to sleep. I think it's worth it. They also have, like, a heated one. I'm in Texas, so why would I ever? But you know, somebody's gonna use it, right? So it's probably good. If you live in Alaska, heated ones are probably great for you. But honestly, I don't even know if you need them. This is, like, a really, like, padded piece, and it goes all the way around your head. I feel like that already kind of covers, you know, it already kind of warms you up a little bit. So it's whatever. This is real shit, folks. I'm talking about the real thing here. If it's something bad, I'm gonna tell you it's something bad. And to the right of Alaska, -4 in the winter, whatnot. Vice City, are you in the Bering Strait? Are you in Russia? -4. Also, I just read that -40 is insane. Holy shit. Maybe you want the heated cups. Then these are the ones I think you put them in the microwave. I think it is, and it heats them up, and then they put them on warm. I just can't ever imagine that's left. Is it left? Hang on. Oh, that is left. I'm stupid. That's left. Look, you can't say right or left. Say west or east. I mean, do a recording of this before I waste all my fucking time. As always. Oh, yeah. Also, the mask thing. MantaSleep. Shit. Where did I put this? The MantaSleep. You can just look up MantaSleep if you want to get the mask. Coupon code CreepyPasta. Just all CreepyPasta. They give you 10% off. That's the relevancy of the ad. Not just talking about the shit, but yes, you could get money off. Is the main thing. Also, they pay me. Don't buy things just because they pay YouTubers. Ever. Ever. I mean this seriously. I'm talking to you specifically, folks, who are out there drinking Prime and the whatever you guys do normally. You guys are out there drinking Prime and eating those Lunchlies. Don't buy things just because YouTubers tell you to. We don't know. You don't know what we're doing. We're given shit half the time and just told to just run with it, and we do. So don't buy things just because YouTubers say to do it. Lock in, man. Get up. Okay. I'm gonna lock in. I'm locking. Let me check my waveform first, yeah. As always, yep. As always, I cannot respond to chat all the time. I still can't see the chat. So whenever you guys say anything in here, I can, I'll see it. I appreciate it, but I can't, do all this. My name's David. I'm not sure if that's my real name, but it's possible. I decided to use David a long time ago. I like it because it's forgettable. There are countless Davids in the world. I try my best to be invisible. Life's better that way. For as long as I can remember, I've always been plagued by horrible nightmares. I'll wake up in a state of panic, shouting and flailing around in the dark, but I can never remember why. As soon as I'm conscious, the dreams crumble and fall away. For many years, I could never recall what was happening in those dreams. Why I would wake up screaming. And how about you? Do you remember your dreams? Do you recognize the faces in your nightmares? Speaking of life, it's probably safe to say mine's been a lot different from yours. I have no driver's license, no insurance payments, no credit score, none of that stuff. I live wherever I can for as long as I can. For the past 6 months, I was squatting in the offices of an abandoned warehouse. The office space was my domain, and the rest of the buildings belonged to the wildlife. It was much better than my last home. The place had running water, power, and heat, and the ceiling didn't leak. All in all, it was probably the best home I've ever had. I was hoping I could stay there for a long time, just me and the raccoons. I hoped I could stay there forever. I have no idea what'll happen next. All I know for sure is there'll be strange places, sinister faces. Beyond that, your guess is as good as mine. Matt, for you, this is a scene transition. When I first moved into the warehouse, I found an unexpected windfall in the break room. They left a full-sized refrigerator behind, along with a hot plate, a microwave, and a coffee maker. In the cupboards, I found an assortment of dishes and cooking utensils. They even left several full tins of coffee, along with 5 containers of coffee whitener and a box full of sugar packets. It almost brought a tear to my eye. Small comforts are the bedrock of civilization. A toothbrush, a stick of deodorant, a hot cup of coffee. Those small comforts that would make us human. They also left behind a portable stereo. I don't really listen to music. I don't understand it, to be honest. Always have talk radio playing in the background. Whenever I turn it off, all I can hear is the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights. I even have it playing softly when I sleep. I find it comforting to hear a voice that isn't mine. I don't really speak to anyone, and for the most part, no one tries to talk to me. AM radio is a safe and easy substitute for social interaction. It scratches a primal itch to be a part of a group without all the mess and danger that comes with the real deal. Having a stable housing situation allowed me to develop a morning routine. Coffee, restroom, breakfast, then a workout. My workout takes roughly 2 hours, and I did it every morning without fail. It's the best part of my day. I use plastic jugs full of gravel for weights. I'd lift until my entire body was burning with exhaustion. Finished off the workout with jump rope and working the heavy bag. My jump rope was literally an 8-foot length of rope I found in the warehouse. The heavy bag was a patchwork creation of canvas and fishing line. I filled it with roughly 100 pounds of dirt from the empty lot behind the warehouse. Found the tarp flapping around in the wind in the shipping yard. And the fishing line was a score from a dumpster behind a strip mall. The gloves I used to protect my hands also come from the dumpster. A few stitches with the fishing line, and they were as good as new. We live in a throwaway society. We throw away food, material objects, and we even throw away other people. Into the trash they go. Wasted and forgotten. I guess there's a metaphor in there somewhere, but I don't know what it is. I don't really understand metaphors either. Sometimes I don't get it and someone's joking with me, and even when I do get the joke, I don't know why I should laugh. My understanding of my environment is purely practical in nature. I understand warmth, comfort. I understand cold and pain. My hobbies are working out, scavenging from dumpsters, and avoiding contact with other people. Everything else in this world is alien to me. Falls outside the realm of my experience. I would punch and kick the bag until I was gasping for breath. Then I'd do it some more. After my workout, I'd head to the restroom to take a bath in the sink. This is the worst part of my day because I'd have to look at myself in the mirror. The man who stared back at me was a ghost. He was nothing. He drifted around on the fringes of reality, unseen and unheard. His existence was meaningless. I've never been sure what it means to be a good person. I think most of us fall somewhere between half-decent and horrible. Sometimes we choose to do good. Sometimes we choose to do evil. I can go either way. Sometimes an action that would ordinarily be considered evil is actually a net positive for good. Personally, I have no problem with telling a lie for my own benefit. I'd admit that I'm also something of a thief. On occasion, I've taken things that weren't mine to take. Just recently, I started murdering people. Matt, there's a scene change. Also, yes, to answer your question, Matt is my editor. He is the guy who works magic and makes these things sound good. Also, Mary, I hope you have a good day at work. It all started with the dead body. The first time I saw him, I was rooting around into a dumpster behind a 7-Eleven variety store. I turned around with a stale loaf of Wonder Bread in each hand, and I found myself looking at a very young boy. He looked like he was maybe 9 or 10 years old, dressed in only a grimy pair of denim overalls and a t-shirt with He looked like he was maybe 9 or 10 years old, dressed in only a grimy pair of denim overalls and a t-shirt on a cold winter night. He was barefoot on the frozen concrete. He was painfully thin. His skin was pale, ashy blue in the glow of my flashlight. He looked like a ghost. The boy pressed a skinny finger against his lips to silence me, and he beckoned me to follow him. I watched in disbelief as he drifted around the corner of the building and disappeared. I hesitated, and then I dropped my scavenged loaves of bread and chased after him. I was convinced the boy was some kind of hallucination. But no. There he was, trudging around with the soles of his feet slapping against the concrete. I shuffled after him on stiff legs despite the bitter cold. I started sweating under my jacket. I felt an uncomfortable pressure in my chest, suffocating mixture of fear and dread. But I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop following him. I felt like I was no longer in control. It soon became apparent no one else could see the dead boy. People would shuffle aside to avoid crossing his path, but they wouldn't look at him. A lot of them had vaguely uneasy expressions on their faces as he passed by, but no one looked at him. Eventually, the boy stopped in front of a pizza parlor. He beckoned me with his finger again, his expression blank and empty. Reluctantly, I shuffled closer. My heart was hammering in my chest. He pointed to a customer through the grimy window. I didn't recognize him. It was just some older guy eating his pizza, a random stranger minding his own business. The boy pushed something into my hand. It was my own knife. A folding blade I found in the dumpster behind a sporting goods store. I had to replace the rivet, and then it was good as new. The business end was almost 5 inches long, and I kept it very sharp. The dead boy stared at me, his skinny arms dangling at his sides. I looked around to make sure no one was watching. There was no one else around, just me and my unsettling new companion. I quietly asked, "Who are you? Are you real?" "I don't think you're real." The boy silently pointed at the customer through the glass again, and then he was gone. I was standing by myself with my pocket knife in hand, watching a stranger through a window. I spun around and hurried away into the night. I went straight home to the warehouse, and I hid under the blankets for a while. I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't want to know. I just wanted to be left alone. It took a long time to fall asleep. As usual, I jolted awake in a state of raw panic. However, something was different this time. I could remember the final moments of my nightmare. I clicked on the lamp beside my mattress, and I scampered down the hall to grab some office stationery. I jotted down everything I could remember in point form. I wrote, "I'm outside. It's sometime during the summer months, June through September. I'm running away from something. The grass is long and full of weeds. It's a meadow or a barnyard. There's a building to my right, big and red. It might be a barn. There's crop growing in a field to my left, tall, green, probably corn." And that was all I could remember, just a brief sliver. Hardly more than 2 blinks and a heartbeat, but it was something. I laid back down on my mattress, cradling my precious new memory close to my heart. I didn't sleep another wink that night. I just stared up into the darkness, my heart thumping too fast in my chest, and I waited for sunrise. Matt, this is a scene change. I met Christy a few nights later. Interacting with other people really isn't my thing, but I felt like I needed to stop her before it was too late. She was trying to kill someone in broad daylight. I heard a disturbance of screeching and cursing on my way home from my dumpster rounds. I could hear it from 3 blocks away. As I drew closer to the source of the ruckus, I got ready to cross the street. I already mind my own business, and I hope others would do the same. It's better that way. I rounded the corner and saw 2 young women pounding on each other in the middle of the street. Both of them were punching with one hand and trying their damnedest to rip out a chunk of hair with the other. A couple of old drunks were standing nearby, wheezing with laughter and egging them on. It was a chaotic scene, and I wanted no part of it. One of the women managed to drag the other to the ground. She hit her head against the curb on the way down, and she instantly went limp. The victor cried out in triumph. She scrambled on top of her fallen opponent. She landed a few sloppy punches. She grabbed a chunk of pavement off the road. She screamed, "That's what you get!" And she hammered the unconscious girl square in the face. I muttered, "Oh shit." And I pulled the victor off of her soon-to-be murder victim. She wriggled in my grasp like an alley cat, bellowing at me to fuck off and let her go. I dragged her a short distance away and tried to reason with her. I said, if you stop now, no one will care. You don't stop, you'll go to prison. The girl roared, I don't give a fuck about jail. She tried to bite my arm. I shoved her away and prepared myself for a scuffle. As I expected, she immediately charged at me, so I planted my boot in the narrow midsection. She flew back and went down in a tangle of limbs on the street. The drunks howled with demented laughter. It was the greatest thing they'd ever seen. One of them stumbled over, burbling a stream of boozy nonsense as he reached for my shoulder. I slapped his hand out of the air and grunted, fuck off. Even though he was pretty much obliterated, the drunk was still wise enough to do as he was told. I turned back to the girl and said, you won, so leave it alone. Don't lose your freedom. The girl shot me a smoldering look through her tangled, greasy hair, and she gasped, that bitch stole from me! I gave her a tired nod and sighed. Go ahead then, do what you gotta do. I'm leaving. I heard a patter of scurrying footsteps as she came running up behind me. I turned and got ready for another attack, but the girl held up her hands and gasped. No, I'm not gonna... I just, like... Yeah, you're right. She's not worth it. I gave her a slight nod and muttered, okay, that's good. Take care. I started walking away. She scrambled to catch up, her overstuffed knapsack bouncing against her back with every step. She panted, hey, wait a sec! Where are you going right now? I snapped, I'm going home, and kept walking. I was sincerely regretting my decision getting involved. I didn't want this interaction, or any interaction for that matter. I wanted to be left alone. The girl started jogging to keep up to me, her face pale and strained. She said, you're lucky, you know, I could have pulled a gun on you or something, right? And then what? I curtly answered, but you didn't. And I stepped up the pace. The girl wheezed. Holy shit! How do you walk so fast? Slow down, man. Listen, I'm sorry I came at you like that. I was just mad, you know? You're right. You did the right thing. Like, you know, a good Samaritan. You know, being a good citizen and all that shit. Hey, come on. I want to talk for a second. I tersely replied, no thanks, and kept plowing onward. The girl cursed under her breath and grabbed my arm, digging the heels of her sneakers into the sidewalk as an anchor. Her face was a mask of desperation. I disengaged myself from her clutching hand, and I firmly shook my head no. I don't have any money. I don't have any drugs. No meth, no crack, no fentanyl, no drugs at all. I don't have what you need. She waved her hands in the air and stammered. No. It's nothing like that. I really need a place to crash tonight. You know, I got, like, kicked out of the motel because I couldn't pay, and I don't have anywhere to go. I've been on the street for, like, 3 days, and I'm cold, I'm tired, and I'm broke. She hesitated and then added, we could talk about it, you know, if you, like, maybe you want something, I could do something for you. I shook my head again and told her, no, I don't want that. Look, you don't know me, I don't know you. Let's keep it that way. She clutched for my arm again and chirped, my name's Christy. How about you? What's your name? Against my better judgment, I answered, it's David. She croaked, there, see, now we know each other. Man, I'm in a bad spot right now. I promise I won't mess with you. I won't do anything shady. I'm not like that. I just need to be inside somewhere. I need to get warm. I grimaced and rubbed my temples. What a nightmare. I asked, what about the shelter? She looked down at her feet, and in a listless tone she replied, shelter kicked me out. I really have nowhere to go. I opened my mouth to say no again, but instead I heard myself ask, are you hungry? Christy's face flushed red with a bleak mixture of gratitude and shame. She whispered, Yeah, I am. I'm really hungry. Thank you. My heart was pounding. I felt nauseous. This was all wrong. I couldn't have a stranger in my living space, especially not some wildcat lady off the street. But I knew what it was like to be cold and hungry. I knew the dread of not having a place to go, and I honestly didn't blame her for trying to kill the thief. It's hard out here. You have to enforce your intention to stay alive by any means necessary. That's just how it is. She was holding my sleeve. I shook her hand off and muttered, "Come on then, let's get you something to eat." Matt, scene change! Christy claimed she was 20 years old. She looked like she'd been anywhere from 15 to 40. Hard to tell. Her eyes were sunken and hollow, and her teeth were starting to turn brown. She was definitely an addict of some kind. This part of town is littered with them. They steal, rob, and sell themselves until they're all used up, and then they die. Happens every day. Her name and age may have been false, but Christy wasn't lying when she said she was hungry. She devoured a large can of tomato soup, 2 peanut butter sandwiches, and an entire sleeve of stale crackers. She washed it all down with several glasses of powdered milk. When she was done, she gave me a faint smile and said, "That was good. I needed that. Man, this place is fucking awesome. I gotta find a place like this. Hell yeah, squatting's the best way to go. This is a sweet deal." Darkly, I mentioned, it won't last forever, but yeah, I like it. No one knows I'm here. Christy drew her knees up to her chest and wrapped her arms around them. It made her look like a child. I pitied her. Found myself wishing I could help her, but this would never happen in the real world. I knew she'd probably be dead within a year or two. It was inevitable. Christy saw me studying her, and she gave me a shy little smile. She said, "No one knows except me. I'm special. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." Her expression turned somber. She sat straight up in her chair and asked, "Okay, so we're good here, right? You said you don't want anything, like, you know." A shiver raced down my spine, and I felt a gurgle of nausea in my stomach. I fear close contact of any kind. If someone's close enough to touch me, I start to panic. I grunted, "No, none of that. I don't like that." A look of relief spread across her narrow features. She said, "Good. I don't like it much either. Cool." I got up to wash the dishes, and Christy lapsed into a brooding silence. I could hear the feet of her chair sliding around on the floor as she shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Finally, she blurted out, Hey, where's the bathroom in this place? Is it somewhere down the hall out there?" I nodded, and she said, "Awesome. I'll be right back." A few minutes passed, then a few more. I knew what she was doing. When she came back, she had a glassy sheen in her eyes. She made it halfway across the break room, and then she gave me a cross-eyed look and mumbled, I gotta... Her eyes fluttered, and her dopey smile melted away. She started to lean forward at the waist, her scrawny arms dangling like wind chimes. I left her standing there and went out to the warehouse to round up some packing materials for a makeshift bed. She was still teetering around in the same spot when I came back. I set up a nest of cardboard inserts and bubble wrap in the corner of the break room. Then I went to bed. I hoped she'd be gone in the morning, just a mild bump in my road of solitude. I didn't want to know her. People are poisonous. You ingest limited amounts over a period of time, you might be okay. Overexposure, however, can prove to be fatal. Matt, Scene change, please. Also, hi, Sakura Rose. Also, hi, Charlie. That night I suffered through another intense nightmare, as per usual. When I woke up, I realized it was the same dream as the night before, and this time I could remember even more details. I grabbed my stationery pad and added these points to the list. I'm sitting at a large table with a bunch of kids. There's 2 adults, a man and a woman. Everyone has a plate, but the man and the woman are the only ones eating. The rest of us are starving. I know I'm running outside just like the last time. The building is definitely a barn. It's very early in the morning, or maybe just after sunset. I'm running away from a fire. There's smoke in the air. I could hear the fire blazing behind me. I could feel the heat on my back. I didn't understand what any of that meant, but I knew how it made me feel. It made me feel very, very bad. It was the same feeling I had while following the dead boy down the street, a sense of impending doom. Something was going to happen. An epiphany was looming on the horizon, and I knew it would be explosive and horrendous in every possible way. I padded down to the restroom, and I used the urinal in the dark. When I was done, I poked my head into the break room to check on Christy. She was snoring away in her bed of packing materials. Even though she was dead asleep, her brow was still creased, with a slight frown. I wonder if she knew the demons that haunted her sleep. In the end, it wouldn't matter. Either way, they would soon drag her to the underworld. I thought to myself, and then I'm next. I felt sick to my stomach. I didn't want this girl in my life. She made me remember that I'm human, and I resented that deeply. I didn't want to be human. I just wanted to exist. I murmured, "Go the fuck away." And I tiptoed back to my bedroom. I didn't think I'd fall asleep again, but I was out like a light in no time, and this time, I didn't dream at all. I slept like the dead. Matt, scene change. Hello, Void Nugget Man 5. In the morning, I found Christy nursing a mug of coffee in the break room, patiently waiting for me to get up. I cooked us both breakfast on the hot plate, but she barely ate anything. She was already high. She nodded off for a while as she watched me do my workout from a corner of the room, sitting on the floor with her legs crossed beneath her. When her eyes could focus again, she mumbled, "You're like, like friggin' Batman over there. Were you one of those MMA fighters or something?" I put my hands on my knees and gasped. "Something like that. It was a long time ago." Truth is, I honestly didn't know where I learned to fight, or when, or how. Just like my real name, that information was lost in the fog of the past. When I caught my breath, I told her, "It's time for you to go. You can wash up in the restroom before you leave if you feel like it. Honestly, you don't smell very good. Here, I'll give you a towel. You can keep it when you're done." Her cheeks flushed pink with embarrassment. She looked away and muttered, "I've been on the street for a while. What do you expect?" "Yeah. Okay, thank you." When she was done, I heard my unwanted guest. When she was done, I herded my unwanted guest to the back exit. She gave me an unhappy look and grumbled, "This is it, huh?" I clapped my hands together and briskly replied, "Glad I could help. Now it's time to go." I pushed the door open and froze like a statue. The dead boy was standing on the crumbling sidewalk. He was still wearing the same t-shirt and filthy overalls. The boy's ghostly feet were shockingly pale against the oil-stained concrete. His gaunt, shriveled features were mottled with splotches of purple and blue. Looked like he had suffered a terrible beating before he died. The dead boy drifted closer. He held up his hand, his palm facing me. Then he gravely shook his head. The message was clear. He wanted to let her stay. Christy lightly touched my arm and asked, "Hey, you okay, man? What is it? You look kind of freaked out." I jerked away from her touch, and I slammed the door shut. I let out a shuddering breath and croaked, Yeah, I'm okay. Look, I just changed my mind. You can stay for a while if that's what you want. It's fine." Christy was clearly bewildered by this turn of events, but she was also very relieved that she wasn't going to be tossed onto the street. She clapped her hands together and chirped, "That's awesome, man. You're a lifesaver, for real. You know, that's why I followed you yesterday. I could tell you were like, that you were okay." I gave her a distant look and grunted. "I'm not sure about that. But yeah, you can stay. Just don't rob me, okay? Almost everything I have came from a dumpster, but I still hate to lose it." She scoffed and said, "I fucking hate thieves. That's why I got booted from the motel, because that bitch stole my money. I'd never steal from you. I swear to God." I gave her a stiff nod and said, "We'll see." I led her back to the office, and she immediately disappeared into the restroom again. That was fine. Her addiction was none of my business. Frankly, I had bigger things to worry about. My heart was still slamming in my chest. I was hoping the first incident was just a brief, unexplained break with reality, but I was wrong. The dead boy's presence felt like the weight of 10,000 sins, a mountain of evil that would crush me into the ground. The haze of blissful ignorance was in peril. I was afraid of what would happen when that fog lifted. I was very afraid. Scene change. Vice City, honestly, I think P.W. Grimm is very good at that. He writes, like, these really sad, very real stories. It's very nice. "5 days later, I committed my first murder. I just said goodbye to Christy, who was on her way to work. I just said goodbye to Christy, who was on her way to work her usual corner. She woke up sick that morning, and there was only one thing that could make the sickness go away. It stirred something in my heart, but reality isn't pleasant on this side of the city. There was nothing I can do for her. I told her to be safe, and then I headed off to check out the dumpster behind the dollar store. After we parted ways, the dead boy stepped out from behind the streetlight, thin as a rail and gray as ashes. He motioned for me to follow him. Once again, I was compelled to obey his silent command. He led me down the street for a few blocks, a walking corpse who was invisible to everyone but me. He stopped in front of a liquor store with bars on the windows, that he waited for me to catch up. I already knew who was inside. My stomach did a slow, sickly roll in my gut. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for this at all. I stood there for a minute or two, shivering in the cold as the dead boy stared up at me, his face slack and expressionless. I knew I should just turn around and run away, but I couldn't force myself to move. And then my target came bustling through the door, clutching a bottle in a paper bag as he headed down the street. I pulled up my hood and leaned against the wall as he passed by. I was just another bit of flotsam in the vast ocean of the less fortunate, unknown and unseen. He didn't even look at me. I turned to speak to my troublesome spirit, but he was gone. I whispered, "Oh, fuck." And I started following the guy at a distance. It had to happen. I didn't have a choice. I got my opportunity when the guy ducked into an alley to relieve himself against a garbage can. I crept up behind him, my knife already in hand, and I pressed the tip to the side of his neck. He let out a startled squawk and twisted away by reflex, squirting piss in an arcing slash across the decaying brick wall. I shoved him face first into the wall, knocking over the garbage can with a loud bang and a clatter of empty cans. I snarled, "Don't turn around, be quiet, and do as you're told." He quavered, "Don't do anything crazy, okay? Take it easy." I took a breath to steady myself. I felt like I was about to faint. I leaned in close behind him and breathed. "Who are you? What's your name?" My hostage stammered. What are you? Look, just take my wallet and go, man. It's in my back pocket. Whatever I got in there, it's yours. I fished it out of his pocket with one hand, still holding the knife against his neck with the other one. I flipped it open and squinted at his driver's license through the grimy plastic window. He wheezed, I got like $80 in there. Take it. I won't tell nobody. I said, "Stanley Mortimer Garland. That's your name? Yeah? Let me look at you." I spun him around and pressed the knife under his eye. I studied his face carefully, but I still didn't recognize him. I growled, "Do you know me, Stanley? Do you know who I am?" His eyes began to water, and he blinked the tears away. He gasped, "No, I don't know you. Look, man, I don't even..." He trailed off, and a flush of red spread across his broad, acne-scarred face. He choked. "Holy shit. How the hell are you still alive?" I felt a spike of adrenaline slam into my heart. I demanded, "Do you know who I am? I was a kid at the time, right? It was on a farm. There was a cornfield and a barn." I poked the knife into his skin for emphasis, and a fat drop of blood oozed a trail down his stubby cheek. He croaked, "You don't remember? Look, that's probably for the best, okay? You get me? You don't want to know. Just let it die." I felt a flare of rage, and I seized it with desperate hands. I needed that anchor, or my nerve would break and I would simply flee into the night. I hissed, "I'll let you die, motherfucker, right here in this alley, right now, frozen in a puddle of piss with your dick hanging out. Tell me what happened on that farm, Stanley. Tell me everything you know." His eyes were wide and wet and terrified. He murmured, I didn't agree with what was going on in there. It was just a job. I mean, that don't make it right, but I never agreed with it. After the fire, I stopped associating with those people. I swear to God. My face was burning hot in the bitter cold. I gasped. "Yeah, a fire. I remember that. I remember running away from a fire. What was going on in there, Stanley? I can remember sitting at a table with a bunch of other kids, and we didn't have anything to eat. There were 2 adults, a man and a woman, and they were eating, but the rest of us had nothing to eat. An empty plate. Was that you?" My hostage blinked away more tears. He begged, just forget about it, man, please. It's over, you're alive. Let it go." I suddenly became aware he was slowly easing something out of his coat pocket. It was almost too late. I grabbed his arm, and the bullet pinged off the wall behind me. I shoved his gun hand into the air and drove my knife into his fat, sagging stomach. He screamed, "Ah, you crazy bastard!" And the gun went off a second time. I dragged the blade upward, opening his guts and ramming his head into his nose. I dragged the blade upward, opening his guts, and I rammed my head into his nose. He went down hard, the pistol tumbling from his nerveless fingers. I kicked him in the face. His skull made a dreadful crunching sound as it bounced off the wall, and then he was still. His intestines were oozing onto the filthy concrete, riding on a slop of yellowish fat curds and dark, steaming blood. My mind was a roaring tornado of panic. I was shaking all over. I groaned, "Oh, fuck me." I grabbed his wallet out of the puddle of piss and blood at my feet. I wiped it off on his coat. followed by the blade of my knife. Then I ran away as far as I could. I ran until I couldn't run anymore. My sides and my lungs were on fire. My mind was on fire. I killed him. This man who I couldn't remember to save my life, and I was glad. It felt good to kill him. It felt like coming home. Scene change. Scene change, Matt. Matt, scene change. Yeah. RY guy, thank you so much for watching for as long as you have. Void Nugget, hello again. Zompocalypse, yes, this is also the author of Bonesaw Vic, and I believe so was this. Just Austin, yes, this is not pre-recorded, this is live. Hi. The jittery high I got from murdering Mr. Stanley Garland was extremely intense. But it was brief. By the time I got back to the warehouse, I was almost hyperventilating from a rush of paranoia. Was I losing my mind? He admitted that he knew me, and he admitted he was involved in my past somehow, but what if none of that actually happened? The dead boy, the memories disguised as nightmares, Stanley's veiled confession. What if it was all in my head? What if I just killed an innocent stranger and took his wallet? It briefly crossed my mind that even the murder itself could have been delusion, but the blood on my pants and my jacket said otherwise. The second I stepped through the door, I stripped naked and shoved everything into a garbage bag. I felt a stab of regret at losing the coat and the boots. It was hard to find stuff like that in good condition. I scrubbed myself at the sink of the restroom head to toe. After I got dressed, I thoroughly mopped all the floors. When it was all done, I forced myself to stop panicking. For better or for worse, it happened. There was no going back. Now it was time to figure out who that guy was and what role he played in my forgotten past. I sat down in the break room and went through the contents of his wallet. Stanley had both a regular driver's license and also a commercial driver's license. His full name on both licenses was Stanley Mortimer Garland. There were also a jumble of cards in there, along with some old receipts, a neatly folded check stub, and $80 in cash. Among the pile of cards in his wallet, I found a business card for a local contractor. His business was called Paul Stevens Contracting. A line of text beneath the company name read fences, decks, landscaping, and a whole lot more. The check stub was from the same company. After deductions, Stanley had netted $10,000 in a 2-week period. I scribbled down some notes on one of my trusty stationery pads. Then I tossed the wallet into the garbage bag. I intended to burn it to ashes in the shipping yard sometime after midnight. In a better area of town, this kind of activity might draw a lot of attention. I didn't have to worry about that in my neighborhood. In my neighborhood, the police only came to track a chalk outline around another dead body. It was a dystopian hellscape. But it was home. I didn't know anything else. That's a good joke, actually. Broccoli. Christy came back a while later with a half a pizza and a few cans of beer. I declined the beer, but I devoured the pizza. I didn't have it very often, so it was a rare treat. She sipped a beer and complained for a while about her clients. I absently nodded along, letting her voice wash into the background as I listened to the local AM radio station. During the 11 p.m. news bulletin, they briefly mentioned a dead body that had been found in an alleyway. I felt my stomach tighten, but I remained calm. There was a decent chance they were talking about a different body. My murder is almost a daily occurrence in this side of town. Christy came back from the restroom and she nodded out at the table. Eventually, she mumbled something about lurching away down the hall. Eventually, she mumbled something and lurched away down the hall. When she was gone, I took the trash bag outside, and I burned it in a bonfire of broken pallets. I stared into the flames and considered my next move. The contents of his wallet had produced a few leads, and I tended to follow up on them. I watched as the fire wound down to a pile of embers, and then I turned in for the night. I woke up just before dawn with a scream lodged in my throat. I grabbed my notepad and I wrote. Stanley was driving us somewhere on a school bus. He looked a lot younger, maybe 20 or 30 years. There was another man standing at the front of the bus. He was holding a gun. I was taken to a large room. There was a bunch of chairs set up in rows, and there was a big cage in the middle of the room. I tried to run, but the man with a gun caught me and dragged me back. I put the notepad down, I turned off the lamp, and after a half an hour of staring into the darkness, I murmured to myself, "Get ready, Mr. Stevens. I'll be seeing you real soon." Scene change. I read from my monitor. I'm on a computer screen. Before I did anything else, I wanted to have a look around Stanley Garland's place of residence. Unfortunately, I didn't have the presence of mind to search his pockets for a set of keys. I had no choice except for to do it the old-fashioned way and break in. I would have to whip up something of a disguise. Stanley lived in a much better neighborhood, and I was going to stand out like a sore thumb. I looked like a vagrant, and that wouldn't do it at all. And that would not do at all. I carefully trimmed a good 6 inches off my beard, and I took the clippers to my hair. A few swipes with a razor to neaten things up, and now I almost looked like a normal citizen. I zipped up a pair of blue coveralls over my clothes, and I put on a greasy baseball cap I found in the boiler room. The final touches to my disguise were an old clipboard with a stack of shipping documents and my tool bag. I was no longer a homeless dumpster pirate. I was a maintenance man, and I had a job to do. I used the money from Stanley's wallet to pay for bus fare. 20 minutes later, I was casually strolling up to the front entrance of the building. I could see an elderly woman perched on a chair in the lobby. She was staring at me, her phone in one hand and an unlit cigarette in the other. She made eye contact, and her face wrinkled with a distrustful scowl. I gave her an absent-minded wave as I frowned at my clipboard. I pretended to check the address again, then plopped the bag down so I could flip through my imaginary paperwork. The old woman tottered over to the door. She pushed it open a few inches, and then stuck her face in the narrow gap. She squawked, Are you here to fix the light in the hallway?" I frowned some more at my clipboard and muttered, "Yeah, I think that was on the list. Yeah, where was that again? Let me see." The old woman's eyes lit up with excitement. She pointed up above her head and exclaimed, "Second floor! The damn light's been buzzing and flickering for almost a week. It's driving me crazy." She held the door open for me, babbling a stream of complaints as I stepped inside. My heart was slamming around beneath my oil-stained overalls. I honestly didn't think it was going to work. But it did. I was in. I gave the old gal a friendly smile and said, "Oh, I'm sure it's been a huge pain. I'll take care of it." I turned my attention back to the clipboard and hurried away. I was just a maintenance guy. I was here to do my maintenance guy things. Stan lived up on the 3rd floor. It was 11 in the morning and the hallway was silent. Most of the residents are probably at work. This was helpful because I was about to make some noise. I didn't know the first thing about lockpicking. If you don't care about making some racket, there are many ways to get through a locked door. I used a 1/2-inch drill bit to make a hole between the deadbolt and the knob. The hole was a starting point for a rough circle, which I cut with a stolen reciprocating. The hole was a starting point for a rough circle, which I cut with a stolen reciprocating saw. A few seconds later, I was reaching through the hole to unlock the deadbolt. The entire process took less than a minute. It quickly became obvious that Stanley Garland was an alcoholic. Judging by the used needles that were scattered throughout the apartment, Stan was also an addict. This would explain why he'd been regularly visiting my sketchy little corner of the city. You won't find any banks or strip malls there, but drugs and prostitution were literally everywhere. Like most people who struggle with substance abuse, Stan wasn't much of a housekeeper. His floors were mostly buried in piles of dirty clothes, fast food containers, and random items of every description. There were stacks of dishes on the corner, and an army of broken bottles littered every surface. Overall, it painted a picture of a man who was deeply mired in both addiction and depression. Stanley had no drive or energy to keep his life in order. It was probably a struggle just to get from one day to the next. I started methodically searching through all the chaos and clutter. I soon discovered an old pile of check stubs amongst the jungle of crap on his desk. They were from a bus company that supplied transportation for school kids. It appeared that Stanley used to work for this company 5 days a week. But judging from the dates on the stubs, he hadn't been employed by them for quite some time. I could see that his employment with the mysterious Paul Stevens was far more lucrative. Did he simply quit the bus company and jump ship for a better paying job? It was another question that needed to be answered. I found a gun in his nightstand, along with a few boxes of ammunition. I put them in my tool bag and I kept searching. In the back of his bedroom closet, I unearthed a shoebox of Polaroid photographs. They were all pictures of boys, all of them taken in front of a white background. Most of the boys were smiling, but some of them had a watchful expression, as if they knew something was wrong. There were dozens of these pictures in the shoebox. On the back of each picture, someone had written a name and a date. Jeffrey, October 17th. Doug, June 3rd. Ricardo, March 28th. As I flipped through the photographs, it occurred to me that one of them might be me. A film of sweat suddenly popped up on my forehead, and I was racked by a violent shudder. My heart was pounding wildly, and I felt like I was going to pass out. I sat down on Stan's rumpled, smelly bed, and I focused on controlling my breathing. Something awful was swimming up from the murky depths of my subconscious. Dark Leviathan rising to the surface after a long and restless slumber. There was nothing I could do to stop it. The memory exploded into my mind with a flash from a camera. Stanley Garland was smiling at me from behind the tripod. He said, "All done. Now follow the nice man over there. Yeah, go on. Next." The nice man led me down a hallway with fading wallpaper. He ushered me into a large room that was full of bunk beds, row upon row of them. There were a bunch of other kids in the room. They all appeared to be between 9 and 11 years old. As we came walking in, they stopped what they were doing and stared at me. I was suddenly afraid. I asked Mr. Nice Man if I could go home, and he answered with a ferocious slap across my face. It knocked me to the floor. I was shocked into silence. I blinked at him through a film of tears, and he smiled at me. He said, "This is your home now. You aren't going back." The door slammed shut behind him, and I heard a deadbolt slide into place. I immediately started bawling my eyes out. All of the other kids gave me a look of disgust, and they turned away from me. The kid with a crew cut came strolling over. He dragged me by the arm to an empty bunk. He pointed at it and said, "This one's yours." I collapsed on the hard mattress, and I continued to cry my heart. I collapsed onto the hard mattress, and I continued to cry my heart out. After a while, the kid on the top bunk leaned down to have a look at me. One of his eyes was cold and indifferent. The other was bloodshot and puffy from a fading shiner. A deep split in his upper lip had been stitched closed. In a matter-of-fact tone, my new bunkmate told me, "You're not going to make it. You're going to die in there." I felt a tap on my shoulder, and I jumped to my feet with a strangled yelp of terror. It was the dead boy. I was back in the present, dripping with sweat and shaking all over. My ghostly companion drifted over to the window and pointed down at the street. 2 burly cops were climbing out of a police cruiser. We started heading up the walkway to the front entrance. It's time to go. I shoved the hat and the coveralls into my tool bag, and I scrambled down the fire escape. By the time the cops were approaching the door to Stanley's apartment, I was already hailing a cab down the street. The cabbie dropped me off 5 blocks from the boundaries to my squalid neighborhood. He refused to drive any closer. I paid the fare, and I melted away amongst my people. A parade of broken souls with no clear motive or direction. My field trip to Stanley's residence had unveiled more questions than answered. It appeared Stanley was involved in a human trafficking operation. Was the mysterious Paul Stevens also involved? And what was the significance of that giant cage? More and more questions kept popping up, and I was determined to find the answer. A scene change, Matt. Let's see how we're doing. We're at 3 hours. I have 15 minutes left. We're not even halfway. Let me see the message that Grim had sent me before. Okay, okay, so let's go take a look real quick and make sure that does he say he wants me specifically? And the story belongs to it's ridiculously dark and violent. Okay, that's cool. Okay, that's fine. It took 6 months, yeah. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. This is a good spot to stop at for now. I don't know if I'm gonna break this into multiple parts. But if I do, I'm gonna talk to Grim first. You ever notice this image has 5 fingers on one and 4? What? No, it doesn't. Does it? Oh. No, yeah, it's just his thumb is behind the hand. It's just behind the hand. It's not like it's not missing a thumb. Whenever you get around to seeing this, makes a good CreepyPasta. Makes the story creepy to you. It's good characters, good storytelling, good characters, good storytelling, and a good payoff at the end. Those are the main things. Uncle Henry's Farm, yes. T.W. Grimm also wrote Uncle Henry's Farm. If you guys haven't heard that one, it's a great story. Fantastic one. I'm getting about ready to call it a day out here. No, you're good, Vice City. I'm gonna call it a day, I think. We're about a third, about a third of the way through the story. So, we'll see those as they keep going. Charger plays. Everything's like different for everybody. I suggest if you do want to check out some of the other like more modern ones, check out Uncle Henry's story. Check out, let me see, what's some other ones I have. Let me find my channel. Tape library. It's background sounds. Bring it back. There you go. I think there's been like some pretty good. There's been some pretty good stories we've done recently. The Dionea House was really good. Hospice Nurse was really good. Long Coyote was very, very good. That was a really fun one. Saw a Deer with Forward-Facing Eyes. That one was really good. Comedy-wise, Time Travel Tales from Vincent Venicava. That was really fun. Angel and a Wishing Well is also good. There's some good ones. I've seen It Has No Face. Oh, It Has No Face was a great story. Strange Tapes from the Gas Station is classic. That's a really old one, though. Emergency Distress Beacon, I think, could be pretty good. There's a bunch of ones that I did that were like pretty, longer ones that are there, that are just fun to look at and check out now. Oh yeah, the abandoned ship story was fantastic. Yeah, that one definitely does have like an old creepypasta, like a No End House kind of feel to it. It's really good. Slowed Time and Train Station. Ooh, I don't remember that one. I do remember that one. That was a Group. I believe that was a Jordan Group story. Yeah, now I'm looking through stories. Man, I need to go back and redo all these. Not redo, but I need to go back and I need to pick up my pace and do more of these stories. And please check things out. I'm gonna go ahead and end stream here. I'm gonna go ahead and push me to ending. There we go. Please make sure that you guys check out stuff like Twitter, MrCreepyPasta0, or Instagram, Billy the Skeleton, things like that. I have seen the back rooms. I love the back rooms. If you guys like to listen to creepypastas while sleeping, check out Manta Sleep Masks. All that shit. I'll be back at another time. We'll have to finish Nothing. I know Nothing is a great story so far. You guys will see more stories coming out on the channel, as well as more cryptozoology as I continue to make those. They will be coming out more and more over time. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. And those of you that are around on Twitch, or twitch.tv/MrCreepyPasta, I'll be going live with video games with a couple of my friends in another hour or so. I'm just going to go get dinner so I can not be starving when that comes around. You guys have a great night.